Tonight's live is about breadcrumbs and benching, recognizing psychological manipulation and dating. So we're talking about a dating topic slash relationship topic. We're going to start off with DJ. I think this is your first time here. So the way that we're doing it now is when I ask you the question, you can go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a little about yourself, and then you can answer the question after that.
Absolutely. Sounds good.
Thank you. What exactly is breadcrumbing and benching, and how do they differ?
Bread coming in and brinching. Okay, first of all, how's everyone doing this evening? I am DJ. Um, I am not a therapist or anything. I'm not a doctor. However, I am a pastor slash Christian counselor. So that's the perspective that I come from. Whenever I answer these types of questions, I always bring my own perspective. And if it's a biblical perspective, then I follow it up with a scripture.
Okay.
So, as for me, when we're dealing with the issue of breadcrumbing and benching, I think the difference is the type of relationship that's involved. When it comes to breadcrumbing, usually there's a vested interest from the person that's being breadcrumbed along. Uh,
Yeah, it's still
it's
doing
still doing
Devon. So
Devon, so
maybe
maybe
reset your
reset
phone and
your
come
phone
back.
and come back.
I
Okay.
mean, if you have a mic plugged in, it might be the mic.
Okay. Yes, so when it comes to breadcrumbing, I feel like the person that's being breadcrumbed has a vested interest. So it's easier for the individual that's doing the breadcrumbing to kind of string them along, as opposed to benching. It's kind of more so of a hopeful mindset. Like they're just on the bench waiting to see if they can fill a position. Now, the thing about that is sometimes they may be aware that they are waiting to fill a position, or sometimes they're not aware. But I think that's the major difference, just the position that they have in a person's life.
Okay. Would anyone like to add to that? Yeah. All right. We're going to question number two. No stigma. Why do some people engage in breadcrumbing or benching? Is it always intentional? You're on mute.
So that's a good question. I think it depends upon the individual. I think that it depends upon the intention of the person. Um, there's some people who will just put themselves out of the game and just watch. They want to observe for a while to see if they want to take another spin on the carousel to see whether or not there's something better. But then there's some people who just want to string folks along just because they feel like they can get things out of it. And I think that there's a lot of, well, I think that both men and women do it, but I think that a lot of women do it because it's easier for them to manipulate men into giving them what they feel like they can't afford for themselves or don't want to afford for themselves. And so they will give like just a little crumb to show interest, but they're really not interested. But that's a form of manipulation to get them to do for them something that they want in particular. And so I think that it just depends on the person. Sometimes you can have a blind spot, you just don't know that you're doing it. And that can come from a traumatic place where you don't even know that you're guarding, yourself in such a way that, you're behaving that way. So that's why we need people to hold us accountable and talk to us about our blind spots.
Anyone else have any input about that? Okay.
I
What's
was
gonna?
on mute. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can now.
Yeah, I was trying to unmute. Um, and no stigma. Can I just say you look amazing tonight, darling? Listen, I don't mind giving credit where credit is due. You look absolutely beautiful. Go
Oh,
talented, Tanico. I don't know. Maybe I should have changed my hair.
Wait a
Coach
minute.
D.
you're always beautiful.
Wait a minute,
Stop.
Coach D. I didn't get a chance to get to you. I didn't get a chance to get to my brothers. Listen, but you ladies have something going on with the hair, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So I just noticed it, and I wanted to give you ladies your flowers. And also, DJ, is nice to meet you. My brother Derek, you know, you're my brother from another mother. Always handsome, and every time I catch you in the streets, you getting people straight. So you know, I love you to pieces. I love what you
Appreciate that.
do.
Appreciate that.
Awesome. So, no stigma. Did you get a chance to introduce yourself? Because I didn't want to go. I knew you answered the question, but I didn't know if you had a chance to introduce yourself.
Man, see, I thought I was gonna slip by and
No,
not have to
ma'am.
do that.
Huh?
But you just put me back on the carpet. Hi, my name is actually Andrea, and I am a Christian counselor who mostly works with leadership. And I have the amazing privilege of being able to be a part of this panel of guests. It's always a joy to be here and to learn from everybody. And so, look, I'm nobody but a servant, and I'm happy to have questions answered and asked. So here I am. Use me, use me.
Let me say one thing before you go, Dr. Cooper. So I'm gonna set. I didn't really set the room, so it's a closed panel. I've sent out invitations ahead of time to people to participate. So anybody that's coming in the box, that means that I contacted them before the live. We do have a couple of people be coming in later because we have like a different shift. But other than that, people can come up toward the end to ask questions. But as far as being a part of the panel, that's not really an option because it's a closed panel. Okay, Dr. Cooper.
Yes, ma'am. Just to piggyback off of the question and agree with what she shared about people having insecurities and fear. And then there are people who deal with a lot of selfishness because of things that happen to them in relationships, and they have fear of commitment. And so they play these mind games and these little games. And oftentimes they do it with someone who may not be as confident in themselves. That's
Mm,
to use people. You know, some people may not have, you know, as many experiences as this person who's doing the benching, and you know they're playing these mind games and the breadcrumbing. And so just to have someone to pay attention to them, they think that's a value to them. But when you don't have a value in yourself, you allow yourself to become a part of this. And so as a mentor and as a life coach for myself, I, you know, try to let people know that hurt people hurt people. And when you begin to realize that, it's a little easier to remove yourself from certain situations and not really take it personal, because it's not even about the person that they're doing it to. It's about the things that happen to themselves. And so there's a lot of people out of here with trauma that is unresolved and have not been healed. So that's what I wanted to share to piggyback off of her question.
thank you.
Thank you.
So the self-esteem is definitely one of the reasons that these things happen for sure. Hey, G. Devon, are there red flags in the early dating stages that can indicate future breadcrumbing or benching behavior?
I think there are lots of red flags that we ignore. I think one of the number one red flags is the fact how consistent is this person in the very beginning. You know, there are a lot of times where we move forward knowing that this person has no enthusiasm for us. You know, if
Mm,
somebody has no enthusiasm for you, it's very clear. And I think sometimes our infatuation with them will cause us to stay in a place that we know is not for us. You know, especially if somebody plays on your self esteem, if they know that you have low self esteem or low self worth, they will play on that. They'll keep you in a place. It is very, very obvious. But I think sometimes I hope that this person truly does desire us, will make us stay, and we'll miss that red flag because we don't want to see it. And especially if we happen to be over 40 years old, we don't want to see that red flag. We already have society telling us as men and women that if we're not married by a certain age, something is wrong with us. I don't subscribe to that, but a lot of people do. Because we need sometimes something to explain why things are how they are. We oftentimes miss the red flag of this person doesn't make plans for us. They don't think down the line for us. They never include us in their plans. What time do they call you? Are you being used for a certain thing? A lot of these things are very, very obvious in the very beginning. How does a person speak to you? When do they speak to you? But again, we miss those things because we don't want to see those things. If I don't want to see it, then I won't. And then I will have a bad experience to 6 months, a year from now, not be accountable to me missing those red flags. And I won't even say missing those red flags. I ignore them on purpose because we don't want to see it. We don't want these things to be true. Like, we allow sometimes negative rationale to speak louder to us than self-assessment and figuring out what is really going on here. We will allow, someone on social media who's unqualified to speak to our insecurity and make us feel worse about who we really are. So now I will hold on to a piece of a woman or a piece of a man to avoid being by myself. And I always say that I think the biggest reason that people go from person to person is because you're running away from yourself. And a lot of times we will miss a red flag because I don't want to be by myself. If I'm by myself, I have to deal with myself. And all of us know in our heart of hearts if we are healthy or if we are whole. We all know this. That if we are whole or we are broken, rather. We know. But sometimes because we may have some residual brokenness from the past, we get tired of hearing that word. We get tired of talking about it, tired of dealing with it. I don't want to see a therapist. I don't want to see a coach. I don't want to see a pastor. I don't want to see anybody. I want somebody to come into my life and to make all this okay without me doing any work to figure out if I'm ready for this position. So it becomes easy now because sometimes, honestly, I'm the red flag. Really, I'm my own red flag. My not being ready, my not being prepared, my latching on to a piece of something, my eating a breadcrumb like it's a meal. That's a red flag to me that I can miss sometime because I'm confusing a heart's desire with a mind desire. They ain't the same thing. A lot of times we got these mind desires that speak more to insecurity and unfulfilled voids in our lives, and we're confusing those for heart desires, and it ain't the same thing. So sometimes I will appease this one, trying to satisfy another. When at the end of the day,
Yeah, what's up?
go ahead.
Making sure you was there.
Mute your line, TJ. Mute your line.
I think that the more that we do that, it becomes very detrimental because I will begin to allow somebody else to be responsible for my joy, for my happiness. And if anything goes wrong, I'm going to always blame it on someone else. Therefore, whether I'm happy or sad, I can't own any of it because I'm saying that, you know what, I'm not enough for me. And it becomes easier and easier to breadcrumb me because you think about it. The more that we're fooled by somebody, the easier it is for the next person to fool us. Because if it keeps working, the next person can be the same thing. No, it's not right. But the reality is people prey on people sometimes. We have some cruel people in this world. And if we're not careful, and if we don't catch ourselves, I'm in here, if we don't catch ourselves in the midst of our not reconciling our experiences, I will always continue to have the same experience with different souls through the rest of my life because the common denominator is me. So all the breadcrumbing, all the benching or whatever is the result of me saying that I don't think enough of me. Well, I would say enough is enough. And I will look in the mirror and really see my value, see my worth, and stop placing myself in the hands of people who won't catch me when I fall in love.
You just said a mouthful. I don't know if anybody can add anything to that. I don't know if there's anything else to say after that one.
And I'm sorry about my audio earlier. I had to turn my lapel mic off.
Oh, okay. That's what it was. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, no worries about that. Dr. Cooper, what are some clear signs that someone is breadcrumbing you?
All righty. Somebody's breadcrumbing you when there's really no commitment. They like to call you when it's convenient for them. They want to see you when it's convenient for them. One day it's up, one day it's down. You really don't know where the relationship is. You can't really figure it out. There's really no transparency where you can try to say, we're dating, and they don't want to use any words that make it concrete, right? They don't want to try to make any promises because it's either, here or there. Way back in the day, they used to call it, we just seeing each other, but we're not catching feelings. And that's easier said than done, and that's when you think that you're in control of things, but you have no idea when your feelings are going to get involved. So someone who specializes in these practices, they literally are like someone who does not have feelings because they're guarded, and because of for whatever reason, they're guarded, and they don't want to let that wall down. They don't want to let that guard down. They want to be in control. They'll send you a random out of the blue, how was your day? Or, are you busy? You got some time for me, and try to put it on you to make it feel like that they deserve, that you should feel like it's a privilege to spend time with them when they don't make you a priority. It's you really can't figure it out. So literally, if somebody really cares about you, I like to say, you make time for what's important to you. So if you're not important to a person, then they're not making time for you. If we are in a relationship or a situationship, there are things that happen in my life, and I need someone in my corner that's going to be supportive. And that person that is getting your intimate time, your late night time, they're bombarding the time where someone else could be able to spend time with you, to conversate with you, but they're literally being a block in the way of probably the person who really desires to be with you, or the person for you. But because of you not really understanding that the more you love yourself, the less that you're going to accept from someone that does not value you. And I always say, when you know your worth, then you can add tax. A lot of people do not understand their worth. They don't understand that you went through what you went through in order for you to get to a different place. And because you survived everything that you went through, you deserve happiness. You deserve joy. You deserve to be free. You deserve to be with someone who's going to celebrate you and not just tolerate you. And we hear these things, but do we truly believe that about ourselves? And once you get to that place that you understand that I am the prize, and I want to meet someone that is going to be my prize. Here's the thing. If we walk around thinking that we are the best thing since sliced bread, then we're delusional. Because there's another loaf of bread on the aisle that's probably more expensive, probably made from a different type of wheat. It may be the type of bread that we might not even be able to like because it's a healthy type of bread. So you don't even like the taste of it because you have to acquire a taste for certain things. And when we see ourselves as valuable, we're not going to just accept anything. So my thing, if they care about you, they're going to show up. And they're going to be consistent about you. And who am I? I'm Dr. Sonyetta Cooper, also known as the Master Motivator and the Purpose Activator. I am very excited about helping global leaders, especially those that love God for real, be able to find their voice. Oftentimes when we are in ministry and we're out here, on the battlefield for the Lord, and we're fighting for Him, we're not fighting for ourselves. So I like to help global leaders be able to find their voice. And once you find your voice, I want you to understand that there is a message in your madness. And when you get to understand that, I help you learn how to make pain pay you back. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna do a toss-up question next, so anyone can jump in and start answering, and we'll go from there unless anyone wants to add on to the last question.
I'll wait for the new question. I do have
Okay.
something to add, but I'm wait because I don't know what's coming. I might be answering it
No,
inadvertently.
go ahead, go ahead.
So this whole thing that we're talking about now, right? Under the hood of it, right? A lot of times the people who are doing the breadcrumbing and the benching, a lot of it stems from like stuff that they haven't worked on, like the stuff we always talked about. And
Right.
sometimes they know inherently that they're not ready or willing to dive into something that looks like or is a relationship. So they want pieces of you when they want it, right? That way they get their fix, but they don't have to be accountable to anything, right?
Right.
And so what happens is a lot of these, what I would call a predatory dater, what they are doing is they are looking for people who have the least boundaries, probably some of the lowest self-esteem. But how would you know this, right? There's no way to know it just looking at you. You would have to test it, right? So the best way to test it is to give you a little bit, take it away, and see if your boundaries are going to. We those predatory daters, they know what you should say no to, so they're going to be like, she gonna not she gonna walk away, and then you keep calling, and they're like, okay, let me give them a little bit more. Okay, then she chasing me now, and I didn't. Okay, so I do so lowest effort, maximum output. So now what I'm doing is I am conditioning you to be okay with my absence because I know you're not going anywhere now and you're going to keep doing it and I'm going to keep giving you little things to give you a little bit of hope. At some point I'm thinking her boundaries going to kick in and they don't. So now you're captive to me and I didn't really do anything. So now I get to siphon off your resource. Hopefully y'all can still hear me.
Yes, we can
Okay.
now.
I get to siphon off your resources to get my fix for the things that I need, right? Because I'm using you as a coping mechanism.
Right.
I don't want to meet your parents or your friends. I just want I want a little hit when I want it. The people who bench you, that's even worse. Cause they don't even have to show up. You just on the side and waiting on my call. And you ain't talking to nobody else either. You waiting on me. That's that one right there. That lets a person know more about the person who's being benched than the person who's doing it. There's two people that have things they need to work on and they're feeding off of each other. And so it's almost like somebody said, I guess you could call it a trauma bond, but it's a cycle. And if you don't break the cycle, you're always gonna be in it. And then when they finally probably make the decision to leave you alone for good, now your whole brain and heart is all jacked up and you didn't even have a real relationship. You had an attachment to something that wasn't even there. So I'm laying the plane.
Okay.
That's what I heard from somebody. I heard people do that.
Okay.
Something real quick.
Yes.
There's another side of that also. I agree with everything that Coach Derek said, but there's also that person that only deals with people who are unavailable. So they deal with people that may be married or like someone that's a workaholic or long distance relationships for that exact same reason. So they only have to give the bare minimum. And I can speak from that perspective because before I arrived at the place that I am now, I was that guy that only dealt with someone who was unavailable for one reason or another because I knew that I didn't have it in me to commit fully. So if you were unavailable, then you was the one that I went after. So I can get that fix, but I didn't have to commit wholly. And that's all I wanted to add.
And if
Okay.
they and you know what happens on the back end of that, right? If they break up with the person and they want you to be their man, and then you be like, hold on, that ain't
That's not what
that
this
ain't.
is. Yeah, that's not what this is.
Can I
I
just
heard that from a friend.
Yeah.
can I just add this because I was going to say that before DJ said what he said, but this is like the caveat to that. Can't you be somebody who is unavailable emotionally out of fear, not just because you're working or you just don't want to attach or you have a commitment issue, but There are a lot of people who behave that way and breadcrumb because they're afraid.
Right.
So they're like testing the water, they're taking their toe out, like they're giving this person like vibes that they're interested. But then when things become a little bit too intimate or they're drawn in a little bit more, then they're like, ooh, I don't know, that doesn't feel good. Let me just back up. Nope, it's different. I see, I see go like shaking their head like, nope, it's something different. Okay, I want to hear.
No, no, I'm just shaking my head because I'm thinking about my, stuff that's happened to me. Is when that's why I'm shaking my
Yeah.
head.
I mean, it's like the text message, and then, and it's not like, because a lot of men will say that that guy is not really that into you. You're like in rotation, but you're not even giving him that kind of time, right? Meaning you've never like been out with him. You're not dating, like it's nothing like that. But there's something that you represent or that you have that he absolutely needs. But then when he gets too close and he becomes a little bit too vulnerable, then he pulls his toe out of the water and he's like, well, no, I need to retreat, but there's still something I'm drawn to. That's breadcrumbing in a sense, but I don't think that that's intentional. That's the reason why I said what I did. I land. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry.
Very
That's a
true. See
really,
what?
really
See
good point.
in the land far, far away, back in the days when they had horses and carriages. When I was outside, I did all of these. Like you can have 5 more of these terms. I've done them all. What I used to look for was people that had really big anxious attachment, because I knew they wasn't gonna tell me no, because they had abandonment wounds,
Okay, hold
and you
on.
could
that's the next question. You about to go into?
see. I knew it was gonna do it.
Yeah. So now
I
I'm
was gonna
gonna
do
go
it.
ahead and go to that question.
Yeah, I'm a hold off then until you do the question, and whoever it
Okay.
is, it might not even be for me.
It's a toss up question, so you probably end up answering it. How does breadcrumbing relate to attachment styles? Are certain people more vulnerable to it?
All right, I guess I'll answer it first. Anxious attachment, abandonment wounds, right? This is what I talk about on my show all the time. A lot of times we don't realize that the trauma is all over you and you don't even know that people can sniff it and see it. And the words you use, the mannerisms, the body language, all of that stuff shows, so a lot of times self-esteem and all of these other kind of things. But again, I never knew that you had this until I tested it, right? Sometimes the test, you might fall asleep one night, right? On the couch, and they hoping that you gonna call. So they blowing your phone up 50 times the next day. Why didn't you call me before you went to bed? Right? And this should make you run away, right? But it's like, wait, now, if I give them a little more, I know they're not gonna go anywhere because look at that desperation. You only know me for a week. What are we doing? So now, I now have, you have set the stage for me because I didn't know you was gonna do that. Right? So now I give you a little bit more and you captive. If I disappear again, I know you're probably gonna blow my phone up, but I want that. I want you to keep showing me your desperation because now I can crumb you at my disposal because you ain't doing nothing else with your life but blowing up my phone. I'll eat the phone calls. I'll pick it up. Hey, I was at work, and you'd be like, okay, cool. You're not supposed to say okay when I keep disappearing, but you keep doing it. Okay, cool. And then I get access to everything. Your boundaries are gone. Your body, your house, your whatever. I'm there, and I have no resistance, and I didn't even have to lie. I didn't have to do any. You keep showing me that you can't do without me, and you don't even know I'm a stranger. So a lot of the tell doesn't come from me. It comes from you. So I'm landing my plane.
Does anyone else have anything to add to that?
I think there's so many things within a person that we are not always aware of that it becomes very, very easy to latch on to another person for whatever the reason may be. Right? I think sometimes as individuals, we don't, most of the time, we don't know where our own attachments come from towards other people. Whether it be childhood, whatever it may be, because we don't have these type of rational conversations outside of these spaces, right? So if I'm not privy to these types of conversations, I may be in a situation not understanding why I keep having these attachments to people. I might not know where I'm wounded or why I'm wounded or how I'm wounded to be able to figure out uh, what makes me continue to be attached to certain types of individuals for whatever the reason may be. I think this speaks to the importance of, like the Bible says, it's not good for man to be alone. Now we take that in terms of romantic. That ain't really what it meant. Totally, it meant in isolation. Period. A lot of times we isolate ourselves, and it becomes very, very easy for us to uh, put ourselves in a prison of hurt, harm, danger, all because the only perspective we have is ours. And there's no one else in our life that can speak to us when they see, you know what, you may want to address that. Or you know what, you may want to take a look at this. Not so much in a therapeutic manner, but as a friendship manner to help us get to the therapy. And there are a lot of times where because we lack the type of people in our lives who have the courage to speak to us in a certain way and tell us, you know what, you may want to talk to somebody, that we continue to allow people to feed the voids in our lives. We allow these wounds to continue to go deeper and deeper, all because again, no one ever speaks to us in a manner and helps us to realize, you know what, Greg, you kind of have a habit of X, Y, and Z. I know you feel like the Dayton P has pool in it, but before you say that, consider what you might be doing to add detriment to your own life. Because again, there are a lot of excuses that we make for the things that happen in our life. But the one thing we don't want to do is one thing to say, be accountable. But the question is, for many, how do I become accountable? What does it look like? What is it in detail? And a lot of people really don't know. They know what the word means, but how do you do that? How do you unpack the layers of you and figure out what is really going on to make you continue to be attached to everyone? Because there are a lot of people, and I'm in here, who are heartbroken over relationships they would never end. You told yourself it was a relationship. You told yourself that it was this, and it never was. You got people like them show that show back in the day, Catfish. You ain't not even met, but you in love. Wow, you got something really going on here, to where you are in love with a person you've never met, but you're sending money. Your emotions are attached to this person, only to meet, and it all fades away because the person catfished you. That stuff happens to a lot of people. They don't want to admit it. To where when you find yourself having all this hurt and heartache, and you're saying I've had these relationships, but you really haven't. I mean,
People be
Okay.
falling in love on the text message.
But I think that that's I mean, there's so much in that. I mean, first of all, with the anxious attachment style, I just, with the back of my throat, say, yeah, like, stop. Like, that person is not the person that um, I think should be in a cycle of dating or even pursuing anybody, because you have a lot of work to do. Like, you are just bait, like in a pond of piranhas, and people who are desperate are looking for you. So this is just me to you. I want to bless you tonight. Yeah, you need to get some help, right? Or like some coaching. Any other people on this panel you could probably reach out to and they'll walk you through the steps. But I wanted to just say that on the dating or seeing people virtually that you've never met. The reason why there's a market for that is because we have become so siloed as human beings that that has become the standard now, is to meet people virtually. And there are more and more people who are married who are having emotional affairs and they don't even know it because it's easy to just get on the phone or get on an app and exchange these niceties, and whatever your spouse is not doing for you for whatever reason, it's easy to create intimacy bonds through messages on a screen on your device and never meet a person and still fall head over heels for them. And so I want to just say that has happened to a lot of people, and there are people intentionally seeking that because they're not being filled in their relationships at home, whatever that is. And there are people who get paid good money to do that. I'm sure that these ladies on the panel have had DM messages. I'll pay your bills if you, and I just want your time. Stop trying to pretend like you can't smile, Angel and Dr. Cooper. Like literally, I'm just saying, like we know that that's the norm because there are men who just want somebody to listen to them. There are women who want to, pay somebody to listen to them. So this is a thing. And I don't think that it has to do with breadcrumbs. It just has to do with the human vulnerabilities that we're so siloed that we're not able to fill because we're in these boxes and not face to face. And that's the norm for many people. So I just wanted to say that. Alain.
Okay. We're gonna first of all welcome in Angel. I hope you're feeling okay. I know you look a little. I know you everything that's going on. So I hope you're feeling okay right now. I know you want probably on some meds and everything. So thank you for coming first of all. So I appreciate it. All right, we're gonna do a scenario, and it's called "Am I overreacting or am I being played?" So you're a part of a group of friends discussing a situation involving Maya, who has been seeing Chris for 3 months. Chris is charming, flirty, and always texts Maya first. But whenever she tries to make plans, he's either too busy or cancels last minute. However, he always comes back with sweet messages, compliments, and occasional I miss you texts, just enough to keep Maya interested. So, based on the details, is Chris breadcrumbing, benching, or just genuinely busy? Anybody can jump in, no order.
I'll jump in on this one. I think that he's benching because anytime a person is able to put you in a box, make you a part of the roster, you accept that behavior, and they learn very quickly that you are accepting of that behavior, and so they are able to put you in a category. And the reason why I say it's not necessarily breadcrumb because I didn't hear that there was ever communication or conversation to talk about, what are the expectations, what are we doing. And oftentimes with breadcrumbing, we come out of the ring with both of our boxing gloves on. Like, I know my boundaries. I've been through coaching. I know, what I want and what I will accept. And all it takes is for a manipulator to take that information and show up as the representative and tell you things that you want to hear, and then you let your guards down. With benching, this is someone who I've got in my roster. And so I'm just going to see how far I can push her. And if she's always accepted of my compliments, then I know I got her. So I don't have to make promises or anything, just as long as I'm able to communicate with her. This is a very, very dangerous position, particularly for women that are meeting men online and having those love is blind moments because oftentimes, not all the time, the woman is just totally not pleased with herself. She's not self aware. And so, if the right man comes along and says the right things, that's just enough to get her there. So, I definitely think that this person is benching this woman.
Would anybody else like to add to that? And you can have a different opinion. Varying opinions are welcome. It can be looked at different ways.
So if I didn't know this firsthand, I literally just coached somebody about 3 weeks ago on this. And in his case, it was neither. So it was scenario, meet online, live in the same city, He is a flight attendant, and because of his schedule, it was a little strange. And then he wound up getting sick. And so it was like communicating daily with this woman, like literally talking on the phone and everything. She knew that he was sick, and they tried a couple of different occasions to meet. At one point, she had dental work and they couldn't meet. The next time, he had like his pupils dilated or something for an eye exam. And when I was talking to him, she wound up sending a text message like, well, it was nice getting to know you, but it seems like something else is going on, essentially, and I just want all the best for you. And so I was like, so how have you been responding to her? Oh, well, I just didn't say anything. And I was like, well, saying nothing is leaving her in darkness and mystery. You have to communicate these things. Like, and she's taking her head down at the bottom. I always recommend that men have a woman in their life that doesn't want to sleep with them, that is going to be honest with them, that will coach them in the right direction, and the same and stuff for women. Because there's sometimes that you have a blind spot and you just don't know. And I was like, dude, so this is what you need to do. And sure enough, it changed everything. So sometimes I think that a lot of relationships are on life support before they even get to relationship status because people just didn't communicate. I'm like, you gotta say something, but sometimes it just doesn't occur to the person. And if you've been in this perpetual cycle of win, lose, win, lose, win, lose, and you didn't win because you didn't really communicate or pay close attention to the signs and the signals that you needed to do a little bit more, you know, it's just like one of those things that can kind of go in the wrong direction before you know it. So in this particular case, I don't think it was either. I think it was just being clueless. And quite honestly, I think that there are more people in this population who are not manipulators. They're not breadcrumbing. They're not benching. They're just like they don't know. They need to be coached. And this is why we have this wonderful, illustrious panel of people who do that now.
How might Maya feel emotionally in this situation, and why is breadcrumbing so confusing?
Emotionally, if Maya isn't where she needs to be, where we talked about that self-esteem piece, especially if Maya has been hurt in the past and it's familiar, Maya will probably get offended. And it's not because, like what she just shared, that he's doing anything wrong, but the behaviors just look familiar. And so that offense really messes us up sometimes when we don't get clarity and don't properly communicate. um, I was that person that would just like, okay, this is what it is, and I'm just going to let it go. Now I'm that person that, no, we need to discuss it. Even if this doesn't go any further, if we walk away from this, I need clarity for me because I don't need anyone coming back in my life somewhere down the line saying they need closure. We're going to close it all now. And if you communicate, you speak your truth, you speak your piece, you ask questions. We're adults. We're not teenagers anymore. And that's it. A lot of people don't know how to communicate. A lot of people don't know how to voice what their needs are. They don't even understand, so they tend to accept certain things. So Maya, if she's a person that's been hurt in the past, she's 9 times out of 10 discombobulated. She's already had a conference call with her girlfriends, and she's already talking about how he's probably a dog like Pookie was, and because he treated me worse than Ray Ray did, and now it's just me. I don't know. I'm just not good enough. And all she needs is a good coach or someone in her corner that's going to sit her down and say, hey, let's deal with you first. Because when you understand what your needs and wants are, then you can talk about your boundaries, what you will accept and what you won't accept. And if somebody gives you anything any different than your boundaries, I have the right to ask the questions. Now, if you can't reciprocate and if you can't produce the answers that I need and be honest and transparent, then you don't deserve to be in my life. And that's when we get to give people the benediction. May the Lord watch between me and thee. Amen.
Amen.
Is it communication though? I agree with both of what you all are saying, but I think we're talking about in the beginning, and we get too invested too quickly. I think that once we decide that we're out in these dating streets, we need to do just that. Dating is supposed to be fun, and we oftentimes, no pun intended, go too deep too fast. And so, did he owe her that? It sounds like they were just getting to know each other. And at that point, you're a stranger. I don't know you. And if your life is fulfilled, one of the things that I coach to the ladies, particularly that want to increase their feminine energy, is living a fulfilling life and being self aware and doing things outside of investing all of you into a stranger. So if you are doing things, if you're going outside, if you have a hobby, if you're being self-aware, if you're doing self-care, if you're doing all of these things, when do you have time to get bogged down in whether this person called me back today or not? That is a very dangerous, in my opinion. That's even more bizarre because he doesn't owe you that. Neither do you owe him that. You should assume that this person has a life before they've met you. They met somebody yesterday that they exchanged their phone number with. They talked to somebody last week that they may be going out on a date with. It's not going to be an instantaneous, oh, we've exchanged phone numbers, we had a great conversation, and oh, we go together. No, ma'am. It should not be that way. What should be happening is you are vetting and living. You're vetting the person and you're living. You going outside. You don't stop going outside just because you met Cleophas at church on Sunday. No, you continue to go outside because he might be a fool. But we tend to put all in. He's fine. He got a nice car, nice job, and half of the stuff he's saying sound like the Charlie Brown teacher. But we got hearts in our eyes like Bugs Bunny, and ain't paying attention to half of the stuff that the man is saying. Instead of vetting and living, vetting and living. So when it gets to a point where you should be like, okay, I'm really digging this guy. I really like spending time with him. I like talking to him. And all the other things will eventually kind of roll off. And you'll find that you want to spend more time. But if you have gone all in to the shallow end of the pool, diving in, you're going to bump your head. And then you're going to look like a fool. I land my plane.
Angel, to your point, I think that a lot of us, because we need this love at first sight thing, that we are expecting everything to move so quickly. So whenever something does not go our way in the very beginning, we tell ourselves, "Oh, no, you playing." No, I always say this. I think that like ships are designed to do what? Take you somewhere. My question is always, what ship are you on? Are you on fellowship? Are you on friendship? Are you on relationship? Is it courtship? If you're in the right one, abandonship. You got to know where you're supposed to be. I think we all the time we meet and we start acting like we go together. Cause why? I expect you. I met you yesterday, Angel, but I expect every day we should be on the phone every
That's
day
crazy.
for an hour.
That's insane.
It's insane. But we expect it, and then if you don't do it, I am devastated because I
Right.
have taken this personally, not even knowing what do you do for a living, what your schedule is like. Are you even a phone person? But I
What's
take
your
this
favorite color?
personally. Huh?
What's your favorite color? We ain't even got to that part.
Right. Right. And I say, my thing is if all of us as individuals could just realize, stop looking for a certain type of experience and figure out what will be the experience with this person. What is it? Okay, it's been 3 days. How has it been in these 3 days? It's been good? Okay, great. Give it another day. But as soon as things begin to go wrong, I'm not saying bail. I'm just saying assess it, look at it, and say what it is. Now I will say to men, I always say for us as men, like I think the original question, LJ, you said talk about the girl's feelings. I think that if as a man, let's say I meet Angel, right, and it's me and her. It's been let's just say 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever. We've made a plan to meet, and I keep canceling, right? Now let's say it's not malicious. Let's say it's just something literally came up. But now Angel might perceive it as now it's great and canceled twice. And we in the same city? Like, what's up? And she has every right to think that. Because it does look funny, but it might be legitimate. I think my responsibility now has to be, you know what? I better find something spontaneous to do to put myself in front of her. If I'm really like feeling her right now, before she start feeling somebody else, I might, hey, Angel, I know, we keep missing each other. Hey, what are you doing right now? And she may say, well, nothing.
Studying, writing a paper.
Writing the
Starbucks
paper.
on Main Street right quick. Let's get some cappuccino. She might be game for that. And when she is there with me, now I can say, you know what? I know it looked really strange me having to cancel those last 2 times. But you know what? It was this, X, Y, and Z. I really wanted to see you. I'm glad that you're free now. I'm saying do this because it lets her know I do care somewhat about your feelings. And
Right.
I don't want you to feel like I'm breadcrumbing or bitching or whatever with you. But I think sometimes we don't give people common courtesy. It's
Right.
not too much as a man to do that, to be a little bit spontaneous. Let her know, you know what? I know we just met. We know each other, but I do care about how you feel. I don't want anything that I do to make you feel away. Now, to Angel's point, we in this dating thing, so she still may have Tyrone number and gonna see him Friday. But I put myself in a recalibration that that's okay. Well, you know what, Greg, he came back around. He saved himself, and I like what he was saying. Right now, we may or may not end up together, but at least she does not have a negative view of me now because I have shown her that you know what, men do communicate, men can communicate, men do talk. But I think sometimes we don't think as men. I'm saying sometimes that we have a responsibility to watch how we handle a woman, even in the very beginning, because how you handle her, could make the difference between where she wants things to go, right? Handling her wrong might be the last time you ever handle her again, all
Right.
because you didn't have that clarifying conversation.
Be intentional. Be intentional. Just be
I want to add
intentional.
something.
Hmm.
Go ahead, coach.
So the other side of the coin to what G Devon just said is a lot of men will do this. The woman will feel like that,
Mhm.
and she don't never go nowhere. So
Right.
he doesn't have the motive to even do what you just said. And they don't go nowhere. And you be like, she should have left, and
Hey.
she's still here. And it's like, okay, I'll take it. What else you gonna get? Put it on the plate for me. I'll eat it. And it's like, I thought she would have been pissed off, but she invited me over her house on Friday. What the hell? Like, I don't. It doesn't. It won't make logical sense. But it's like, and that's where all of those other things we talked about, the self esteem and the trauma and all of that stuff. You put that flavor in there. The woman should detach, but she don't. And it's like, okay, and then you go meet 10 more and they do the same thing. And you like, well shit, I ain't even got to do a coffee date no more. Like
Right.
we done ran past that. Is that how it's gonna be? And then you meet the woman with the boundaries and you think she's something wrong with you? What the hell? You told me no. What the hell? And then that be the one you chase.
Right. Exactly.
You right.
Exactly.
It's weird.
That's exactly how it works. And that's why you have to busy yourself. Because here's the thing, ladies, especially. If you don't have a life outside of looking for a husband, then you're not getting yourself ready to be a wife. And that's where the focus seems to be warped. We tend to hear so many women say, I'm looking for a husband, I'm looking for my Boaz. Well, first of all, that was Ruth's man. So stay off
Hello.
of him. Secondly, you don't need to be looking for a husband if you don't know what it means to be a wife. So you busy yourself so that you understand what that means. What does that look like? What does it mean to be a wife? Because if you focus on that, busying yourself, self care, self aware, mental health, all of those things, husband will find you, no question. Ain't that what y'all always like to throw up? He that finds a man, he that finds a wife finds it. Y'all love using that scripture. Can't tell my nerves slap up because there's more to that scripture than that. Because it specifically says finds a wife, meaning that you already a wife. So you walking around like girlfriend, like Pookie baby mama, you're not gonna get a husband, you're gonna get a Pookie.
You better preach.
So let's begin to busy ourselves. Let's walk in what God has ordained us to be.
Yes.
I am amazing. And it's not conceit. It is self-esteem. It exudes femininity because y'all, let y'all tell it. These men out here want a bunch of weak women. No, they don't.
Yo, no.
Not at all. Let me hush.
You don't even sound like you're on anything, Angel.
The angel that popped up about a couple iterations ago. She was sitting there like this for a minute. Then she was like,
Yeah,
wait a minute.
so for those of you all who don't know, thank you for the prayers, the shout outs, the texts. I had a full knee replacement on Tuesday. Spent the night in the hospital. I am on something right now. So I'm a hold out just as long as I possibly can.
Listen, Angel, this is your medication because this is your lane.
Yes, it's my lane.
This is your
Amen.
superpower. So this
Amen.
keeping you busy so you won't think about the pain.
Exactly.
Coach Tanika, were you getting ready to say something?
Well, I was. Angel, you said something. I just had a conversation, Sonia and I, about I don't want a Boaz, and when everyone tells me that, I cringe. I say because I don't want no one to rescue me and be my kindred redeemer because I already have the things I need. I need a man that we're going to build together. Give me somebody like a Jacob.
Hello?
That's my husband, Jacob. I
Hello?
don't want someone that comes and rescue me like I'm in a fairy tale because I'm poor, because I'm not poor. And so that's not my story. So that's that just really stuck with me. But this conversation tonight, I think we were talking about, back to your original, how would she feel? And I do know that I used to be a breadcrumber. I don't do it anymore. But
What?
You're
You?
a reformed breadcrumber.
I love
I'll
it.
just give them just enough to get what I wanted and move on. But I am reformed. God is good.
She went through the
All the
12-step
time.
program and everything.
I love it.
No, but the thing about it is, the person starts overthinking. And even though they may not say it to you, after you kind of kept them giving them a little bit of crumbs, they start asking questions like, well, what did I do wrong? Are you okay? Is something I did wrong? You like, oh no, it's nothing you did wrong, honey. I just been busy. I'm gonna get with you next week. Then next week comes, you might send them one text. That makes their complete day. Boy, they are excited. Their heart is racing. They're back in love. Then you plan again. And you're like, well, can you cash at me for my nails? Are we really gonna go out this weekend? And then Saturday comes, oh, my girlfriend is sick. I can't make it. So
Dang, you good. She an OG.
And that's how it happens. And and it's so sad that they say men are, the only breadcrumbers. But women really, we can too.
The ultimate breadcrumbers women are.
Because we
Absolutely.
are analysts. We analyze everything. We know you, we know what you like, and we'll just love bomb you in the beginning and get you on the hook and then just start breadcrumbing. So, if you're out there and they're not giving you time, they're telling you that same scenario, man, I'm gonna be with you this week. One of my boys called his car, he had a flat tire. If that's happening every week, you might be getting breadcrumbs.
Yep.
That might be it. But definitely, I would say that she would be anxious, overthinking, a little confused, uncertain about herself. And that's when the self doubt starts. And then then that makes it easy to get into the next relationship. It's like a cycle because you're just taking a little bit. He might do a little more than John did. So you think that it's real, but it's really not. He just
Right.
probably a OG. That's what it is.
Hey
Yeah,
guys,
that one thing you said that is a telltale sign of the perfect prey is when they say, "Well, what did I do? Why aren't you calling me? What is it me? What did I? Is something wrong with me?" And they keep doing that. You gonna get got.
Yeah.
It's not like that. It's that self esteem and that's what you think about yourself. It's just all over you now. It's like, wait, I only didn't call you the one time, and they be like, so did I do something? You were supposed to call me at 4, and it's 7, and I'm like, whoa, why you breathing like that? It's okay. Like, what do we do? That's when you know it's something else going on in there. She's drawing lines to something else that don't have nothing to do with me.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's that's real.
hey, I
Wow.
just want to give us a quick shout out to a couple of special guests I have in the chat, which are my mom and dad. So welcome in,
Hey, mom
folks.
and dad.
Hey, mom and dad.
Hey, mom and dad.
All right. So what are some red flags Maya might be ignoring? Talked about some of them, but there's one that we didn't really talk about too much, and I think it's like a huge one. So just think if you need me to say any of the things again, let me know. But if
Yes.
you okay, so let me go back to the scenario. So they've been knowing each other for 3 months. He's charming, flirty, always texts her first, but whenever she tries to make plans, he's either too busy or cancels last minute. So he comes back with sweet messages, compliments, occasional "I miss you" text, just enough to keep her interested.
Mm, mm, mm.
He just one big red flag. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, there's nothing that he's doing other than he must be attractive to her. Like he's doing nothing to keep you interested.
Other than a occasional text. But the main thing is to me is this has been going on for 3 months.
He's
Like,
texting
And
first.
that's what I'm saying. So
yeah,
why is
he's
he still there? Yeah.
3 months. I mean, at what point do you, and you live in the same area? I think you were mentioning how long were those people knowing each other? No stigma that you mentioned that they were in the same area.
It was like 90 days.
Oh, so it's the same amount of time. Wow.
Ooh.
Yeah. And one red flag to me is always the initiator of the text messages. Let me get in front of it first. I'm always leery about that because I need to make certain that I have the action on the phone before you have the action on the phone. And a lot of times when someone has someone else, they've got to get in front of it, initiating it first. And that may not always be the case, but more often than not, all of this can be avoided when you stick your toe in the water to test the temperature. You know exactly how long you're going to swim in a pool, whether you're going to swim in the deep, you're going to swim in the shallow. You have a plan. So if you're going to swim in the deep of long distance relationship, what is your plan? How long are you going to do this? How long are we going to communicate with each other before we meet for the very first time? And all of that needs to be communicated out the gate.
Yeah.
And if you say, you know what? I'm not really into long distance relationships, but I'll give it a shot. We got to meet each other within X amount of days. Then you've got to be married to that. You've got to stand your ground and say, this is it. And if he keeps or she keeps canceling and coming up with excuses, you know what? This is not for me. Be willing to say, this is not for me, because I communicated to you what my boundary was, what my standard. I told you at the beginning. All it takes is intentionality. That's all it takes. And if someone really wants to see that person, if they really want to see them, if 30 days is too soon because you're in California and I'm in New York, then we need to decide together what that looks like. Is that halfway? Or I'm going to make it happen. It might not take 30 days. It might take 2 months or 3 months or what have you. But during that time period, what mini boundaries are there going to be? Are we going to talk every day? Well, I know you got a life, but how often are we going to communicate with each other? Is it always going to be text messages, or are we going to talk on the phone? There's video chat, and now iPhone and Androids can video chat. So you can't even say you got a different phone. No, you can't even use that as an excuse no more. And if you got Instagram or you got Facebook, you can FaceTime on that. So you can't even make excuses about FaceTime anymore. It's about being intentional. Period, point blank.
So, what do you think his motives are? Why is he doing this? If he has no intention, he's not trying to meet up. He's just texting. What's the reason?
An emotional affair.
It could be that, or it could be just someone that is trying to see how far they can go with someone. They may have identified, sometimes we put too much information out there in these social media streets, and they may have identified something that they want from that person, and they're going to do whatever they can to get it. It may also just simply be a game. And there are some people that's out here that's just playing games, and they revel in the fact that they can get away with it, and they think that they're winning, but I think karma is something. Karma has won like a lot.
Or it could just be his ego. He just wants to stroke his ego, see how far it can go. And I'm pretty sure if he has her on a hook like that, he's probably doing this to several women. And so he's just, the fact of saying I got all these women I'm texting or I'm calling to make himself feel more grandiose, because really he may have, low self-esteem, or he may feel like he needs to have this to be fulfilled as a man or a woman, vice versa.
Right.
So let me ask you a question, because my short term memory. She was asking him to go do that first part. What was she doing? And then he was only texting.
She would ask him, say, let's meet up, those kind of things. Let's get together.
But she
Every
did it
time,
several times, right?
She
yeah,
was the
multiple
Yeah.
times.
initiator.
See, if I was coaching her, I'd be like, how many times you had to ask? Like, we not gonna do too many of them, right? Like, she's keep asking him. She's leading that part of it, and he's not even responding to it. So let's say she did it 5 times. Why she go to 5? We not we not doing no. Because
Right.
we know, because her complaint, or whoever's the person who's telling this story, the complainant, obviously it doesn't feel good, and
Right.
you're not saying anything about it either. So he gonna keep doing what he doing, and you gonna keep accepting it. But I'm like, so you gonna go to 10 times asking him, 20 times asking him to you asking the man to go out, and he's never done it. Ooh.
That's
Yeah,
crazy. That's wild. She's
So,
always the initiator, except for the text.
Right.
See that right there? Nah.
so what kind of advice would you guys give her if you were one of her friends?
I would tell her that this man has shown no enthusiasm for you at all.
He don't want you.
What kind of, my thing is, if you want this type of a husband, well, that's something in the very beginning that'll tell you what kind of man he is. You can tell off the gate. I always say, it's not always a rich man you need, it's a generous man. This man has shown you he is not generous. He's giving you nothing. None of his time, none of his attention. He's giving you nothing at all. So save yourself a headache and just cut ties with that man. I mean, every time last minute cancellations, I think that women sometimes have to stop acting as if, it's not everybody, some, as if they don't see the train wreck coming. You see it. You have to realize, you know what? Let me stop being my own worst enemy. Let me stop putting myself in situations that from day one aren't going my way. A text message means absolutely nothing. That is the least that you can do. And it means nothing without a follow up. A text without a follow up means nothing. That you're just keeping some kind of a attachment to me. If I can hold on to a piece of something and make this more than what it really is. If a man really like you from day one, he has some enthusiasm. When he talks to you, he will want to talk to you sometime. He will reach out to you on the telephone, not just a text message, to hear your voice, to talk to you. Again, he wants to fill your time before somebody else do it if he's really into you. Now, I'm not saying they're gonna fall in love day one, no. What I am saying is if there's something about you that this man really likes, you're gonna know it. Because he wants to put himself in front of you. And he realizes that, you know what? If I see this in her, every other man sees it too. So if I really want to make an impression, I'm going to do something to make an impression. And if he's not, honey, cut your ties and stop wasting your teeth, time, energy, attention. Because this man does not appreciate the brute that is you.
Right. I agree.
Yeah, I would definitely tell her to cut ties, and then maybe to go to counseling because I would, or get a coach because I would want to know what is it within you that made you for 3 months keep asking this dude to go out, like just like that. Like, what made you keep asking this dude to go out, and he kept telling you no? Like, was he the only man checking for you, or you? What was it? Did you make up this fantasy in your mind that he was going to be the one? Like, what was it that made you think after, maybe it was a coincidence the first time something came up, but in 90 days, he wasn't able to make good, and you kept asking him over and over? No, after the first time, you was going to have to ask me out and plan it, because no. And so I would have told her, like, listen, you need to cut ties, and you probably should not be dating right now until you figure out how to date healthy without getting too attached to someone who's not giving you anything, like just low hanging fruit, and that's it, and you just accepted it. So I probably would tell her, well, I will tell her just like that. That's kind of how I talk to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I would definitely tell her to start working on herself. Date yourself. That's one of the biggest problems that people have, is that they don't understand the importance of being alone. And because it's for whatever reason, some fear of being alone, some fear of spending time with themselves. When you learn how to date yourself, it sets the tone and the atmosphere for you to be able to teach people how to treat you. If you don't know how to treat yourself, you're going to accept anything. So when it comes down to, I know what I like to eat, I know where I like to go, I know the type of atmosphere I would like to be in, I know the type of conversations I like to have, I know the type of movies I like to look at, I know the type of music that I like to listen to. I might want to hear jazz tonight, but I might want to hear some trap music on Friday night while we're riding down the highway and just hanging out. Yes, because that's what mood I'm in. But if you don't know yourself, then people will treat you any kind of way, because you don't know what to tell them, what to do and what not to do. I would tell a girl, take yourself out. Go do some things for yourself, because obviously you keep calling this man because you're looking for him to do something for you that you might want to try to do for yourself. And then it won't be so important for you to give somebody 90 whole days. That's the type of time you have at a job before they give you your benefits. Girl, you spent a whole job trying to get some attention from somebody who does not even give you the time of day. Get yourself together.
Okay, we're going to go back to the regular questions. Angel, Do breadcrumbing and benching happen more in online dating, or are they just as common in face-to-face relationships?
I think that they're just as common. They happen whether you're online dating or you meet somebody in Kroger. The reason why it's happening is because we've all talked about it. You don't have your boundaries in place, and the expectations that you've set. You know, a lot of times we have such unrealistic expectations for people that we are expecting them to jump through hoops where there should be very small expectations in the beginning. And that, I'm really big on that. Derek can tell you, you should have expectations. It's just that they should be small and they should evolve as the relationship evolves. And so I think that it's going to happen regardless of the type of relationship, because the common denominator is that person's lack of self aware. They are not happy with who they are and how they show up in the dating space. And so it lends way for someone to breadcrumb or to do the emotional manipulation. If you are confident, if you are 100% sure of who you are, you're outside, you're doing things, you are living your best life, there's not going to be room for someone to do that to you, whether they are in Timbuktu or down the street.
Okay. Would anyone like to add to that?
I think for a lot of people, I think we know that relationships evolve, right? But I think sometimes as people, we don't evolve even in the dating period. Like the scope of dating today has changed, but I don't think that all of us as individuals have evolved with that. I think that within this dating realm, I think many of us are just we have motion but no movement, and we don't realize that we're just spinning our wheels sometimes because we refuse to look at how we are interacting with people. I definitely agree that it definitely happens on both ends in terms of whether it's online or in person. Because honestly, once you get past the initial point of contact, then it's no different.
Right.
It's just a matter of where you met them. And I think that some of us, may look at online dating as well. It's easier to deceive. Not really. But again, after that initial whatever, this is traditional dating again. I think what has happened is that our integrity is what's really in question a lot of times. That there should not be a thing called breadcrumbing, but there is. But why? Because people's integrity is in question, and it's for a lot of reasons. I think there are a lot of people uh, that manipulate that don't know that they manipulate, because a lot of people are out here maneuvering and they are so hurt themselves that they're just trying to avoid getting hurt, not realizing that, but their actions are very, very manipulative. And they become again afraid to give pieces of themselves, not realizing that the other person is perceiving that another way. They don't know that you're hurt. They don't know your experience. So now we leave people sometimes confused. Like nothing is ever so definitive to where I know it was that. Not all the time, because again, you don't know what experience that they have. You don't know why they're acting this way, and unless something is that clear, black and white, then it's not always what you think. But again, how many of us take the time to figure out? Well, maybe this person is hurt. Maybe this person has some scars. Mm-mm. If you're dealing with me in a manner that I don't like, I'm not going to give you the benefit of that. Number one, I don't owe you that. Number one, and if it's the very beginning, it doesn't matter why you're doing that. Let's say you are hurt. I don't want to deal with somebody that's that hurt from day one. Because how can we build together? I don't want to have to overthink everything or have to coddle you in a sense to where wow, you're just not ready or prepared today, right? But I think a lot of us, again, we don't know what certain situations are. There's a lot of curiosity as to what something may be, a lot of assumptions. You got this person saying this person saying that, but have you assessed your own situation? What does it really look like to you? And would this be a healthy situation for you to potentially invest in? That's what it really boils down to. I think a lot of us, we are such in a rush that we're in love with love, or the thought of being in love, to the fact that I'm willing to gamble on anything, because I don't want to be alone. Because to be alone, I gotta face myself, and I know that I don't want to really face myself, because we all know a lot of times if something with us isn't quite right, in terms of if we may be hurt or have something that may be hard about us. We know. But to avoid dealing with that, to avoid fixing that, to avoid peeling our own layers back, I'll just deal with somebody else. And they will distract me from what's going on with me. And as long as they are here, I don't have to deal with me. But now I expect them to subliminally fix me just by being with them. Because if you break my boundary box, it's your fault, not mine. And I try to fix myself within you, or take on who you are, to avoid having to figure out who I am. And a lot of people get lost in love, lost in dating, lost in relationships, lost in marriages, all because we entered this thing, whatever that thing may be, without knowing who we were, without knowing why we're investing like we are. You know, we talked about earlier, about the vetting process, but again, a lot of folks don't know what that is. You can't vet by yourself. You can't. You're gonna need somebody else that you can trust to help you see what you can't see. But there are so many things that I call blinders that just blind us to our own personal decision making process, and also blind us from really seeing things for what they truly are. That at the end of the day, again, we become our own worst enemy, because it's us that's engaging. It's us who is committing. It is us making these decisions. But at the end of the day, I make everything your fault, because it is easier to blame it on you than for me to learn how to feel a different way. And that's hard. Like, that's what forgiveness is learning how to feel a different way. That requires me to, again, look back at what happened and realize however I feel is real. But if it ain't healthy, I have to learn how to feel a different way to be able to move on.
Okay, so Angel mentioned that this type of behavior can occur online as well as in person. But let's focus on the online portion of it. And Coach Ty Nico, how does social media contribute to breadcrumb and benching behaviors?
I would say sometimes we see things on social media, and we think that, hey, this is the way the relationship is going to be, or you'll see these scenarios. You'll get what I like to say, how you can easily get breadcrumb by social media is that you'll have a expectation that something should happen, or you may have low expectations, because now, when it comes down to dating or going on dates, women are sometimes making these expectations of men, and then when they're not meeting those expectations, then that kind of happens. They'll feel like, oh, I'm being pushed aside, or they're not giving me what I deserve. And so then when they see that, women feel like when they're getting the bare minimum, that's what they should get in the beginning of a relationship. So when they see how other women are doing things that are all the way to the left, they're going to the other extreme where they're just taking the bare minimum. Like, I don't want to be like the women I see on social media that's demanding an expensive date or demanding this. So then they'll decide, I won't take anything. Well, if he misses a call, it's okay. So you have to know a happy medium when I'm expecting too much and when I'm taking too little, because sometimes that can be not having a good view of yourself, not being self aware, not knowing what you should have because you're allowing social media to tell you what you should take, what you should expect, or because you're not wanting to be to the extreme, you're taking a lot less than you should. So that's what I think that social media has contributed, especially to women. They're always talking about what a woman shouldn't expect, what she shouldn't expect. This is just a first date, or you shouldn't expect so much of a man, but you should have some expectations. They shouldn't be outlandish, but they should be more than not getting called or not fulfilling, not keeping your word. If you say we're going on a coffee date, then we're going to go on a coffee date. But if you say we're going on a coffee date and then I'm there, oh man, something came up, then I'm not going to continually reach out to you. But it makes, sometimes social media makes you think that I should follow up. I should make sure that this is going to happen. So I think knowing that who you are and not going to the extreme, not watching the extremes on social media, but also knowing where you stand has really caused dating in general just to be outlandish with certain things, not accepting what you should or wanting too much too soon.
Does anyone have anything to add to that?
I just had a question about the follow up. So if somebody asks you out and you make arrangements and stuff to meet them, even if it's for the very first time, if the person who invited the other person out has to cancel, is the social etiquette no longer for the person who canceled to reschedule the meeting or for the date? Does that no longer exist? Do people?
It should exist. I mean, I know we're not supposed to have expectations, but that would be my expectation.
You mad too?
I was just asking for a friend because I'm like, why do we feel like the time has changed and therefore the standard of being kind, considerate, like changes? I mean, if you're expecting those things out of yourself, then why wouldn't you set that standard in return? And to me, if the person does not show up in a way where they are accepting responsibility for the change and trying to make sure that they are making good on breaking the appointment, then I'm probably done anyway. That's just me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just DONE check mark. Like, you don't need to call me anymore. And definitely don't show up a few months later like nothing ever happened and somehow I'm slow and I forgot. I just wanted to ask. I'm just asking.
Yeah, that's it. That should be the expectation. If I cancel on a dinner date just with a friend and something came up, I'm gonna reach out. Hey, when are we gonna reschedule? I'm not expecting my friend to call me and say, "Man, I know you canceled our date. Are you okay? Are you all right? Is there anything I can do? So when we're gonna schedule the date?" No, but that's what's happening. That's exactly what's happening. They're calling, "Oh my gosh, what happened to you?" What? No, I'm not asking what happened. You didn't tell me what happened. You didn't want me to know.
Or they lie.
Or they lie.
Yeah, or they lie about what? And you catch them in the lie.
Yeah.
And them lies be ridiculous too. It's like, oh, my phone
Yeah.
broke and my truck rolled over the
I've
phone and it
noticed.
took me 2 days to get the new one, and that's what. And I'd be like, wait, what?
Until your stories come up on social media
Right.
showing that at that jazz concert that happened at the same time that we were supposed to be hanging out.
And
But
you were
that's
with
what
some, and you
social
were with
media.
somebody.
Mm-mm.
someone else. But that thinking about the social media piece, gosh, back in the day, those of us who knew the time of Black Planet,
Come on, Black Planet.
I got married off of a Black Planet. Yeah. So and
we
we
knew the
still together.
time of Yahoo chat groups, where we were just communicating, where it wasn't all of this stuff, then MySpace. And so social media is ever evolving,
Yeah.
ever evolving. And now people who, as Angel stated, does not have a life, they live off of likes, shares, and emojis
Right.
and views.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Did you see G Devon like three of my posts back to back?
Oh, it's
Girl,
insane.
I think I believe he's the one.
Girl,
All
bye.
right.
The Lulu that is happening because social media has caused people to lose focus of reality. And when you have a life, like when we turn these computers off,
Yeah.
those of us who get to hang out on these Friday nights, I'm not trying to figure out what Angel is doing tomorrow. I'm not checking for my girl Lolita to see what's going on with her Sunday. Like we have a life. Now when my screen is off, I'm in here checking on mama, making sure she's taking her medicine, and telling my foster child, girl, get into bed because you're supposed to be asleep by now, but you're playing with me because I'm not focused. We have lives. And because we have lives, people who don't have a life get behind a screen and pretend to be something that they're not. So when we have these meetups and these, ATL, the takeovers that are coming up, the different things where we get to meet in person, you get to see if people are who they say they are.
Right.
You get to meet people, and spiritually, when you understand, try the spirit by the spirit.
All right.
It's one thing to get on an app and pretend that you're one thing, but it's another thing to be authentic, to literally say, this is who I am. This is what you get. Like Coach Tynico, y'all, that's my sister from another mister. Y'all know that people think that we've been friends for over 25 years, and we met, what is this, 2025? Almost 5 years ago on an app called Clubhouse
All right.
because we were a part of a group, but it was an authentic friendship because we ended up in a group of people that ended up not liking us because we were so amazing. We didn't know each other, but we linked up because we were kindred spirits, and we're like, no, what is wrong with these people? We're just being us. And we ended up walking away from a situation that a lot of women got hurt behind because people can be mean.
Yes.
People can be evil. And when they get to know your greatness, they don't want to compliment you and tell you, girl, you look amazing. Brothers, like I'm down with HBO. I'm down with helping a brother out.
Come on.
So when it comes down to my people, I'm all for it. But the people who really are catfishing, who are doing these same things we're talking about, you're breadcrumbing and you're benching people, and you don't realize if you have children, it could happen to them. Or one day you might meet someone who you really decide to care about, and something worse, that karma piece, can come back. So we really got to be careful how we handle people, because you can come in contact with someone who's hanging on by a thread, and they're just looking for someone that they can trust, especially on these apps. And you never know, either you could push them over the edge to hurt themselves or hurt you. So benching and breadcrumbs can, turn out to be a negative thing. But for social media, I'm going to always say, be yourself.
That's right.
If you have to be someone else, it's not worth it.
Right.
So I land my plane.
Okay. All right, Coach Derek, is breadcrumbing a form of emotional abuse or narcissistic behavior? Why or why not?
Oh,
What? I think it could be both. could be all of the above. And I don't like the, the TikTok streets don't like you to use the word narcissist with a T. So narcissistic traits, yes. It's self-serving, right? It's all about me, and you may catch on to it, and you may not, and I don't care. I have no empathy for how you feel. It's about me. That's why I'm breadcrumbing and benching you, and siphoning off your resources when I see fit. It's about me. So when you say emotional manipulation, if I know that you are falling for me and I still keep going, I'm taking advantage of it, right? A lot of people do that, right? Like you could literally have a conversation and say, you know what, I'm looking to be, in a relationship, and they be like, and then they disappear for a week, and you like, and now you chasing me, right? And so I know what you want, and I know I'm never going to give it to you, but I like the energy that comes from somebody that's falling in love with me. So I need that. I need to feel, because here's the thing, right? This is what I realized, right? A lot of times, people who do some of this stuff, when you're talking about the emotional side, there's a part of me, the breadcrumber, the manipulator, that wants to feel it. I want to feel what love feels like with actually not having to dive into the whole experience. But I get it when I feel like it. So that means if I know you a good cook, I'm gonna come over your house and I'm gonna be like at 2 a.m. after the club, can you make me a sandwich? And you gonna open the door. And you're not gonna just open the door, you're gonna give me a hug, we gonna lay on the couch and watch TV, and you're like, what part of the game is this? He like that too. He just don't want it full time.
Right.
I want to feel love. I just don't want it to feel it all the time. I want a little bit that I can handle. And then and you thinking, that's my man. We didn't have that discussion. Huh? It's too late now. You already on the hook. So
Right.
you get released when I say so. This is the self-serving part. When I say it's over, it's over. And whatever the collateral damage is, whatever the trauma that comes from it, I need to find another supply because it's getting too close. Now you want me to meet your mama? And that's when they ghost you. It's too much. It's too much. I heard that from somebody. I don't know. Somebody told me that.
Yeah.
But I think that's what happens.
Somebody told you
Sometimes.
that, or
Somebody told, back in those days when TV was black and white, sometimes I probably dibbled and dabbled a little bit because I was trauma, right? I had the emotionally detached parent, so I was looking for something, and my drug of choice was not the bedroom stuff. It was the feeling of love. I knew I wanted to feel that, but I didn't want to go all the way in. So what do? You have to get them there fast. You have to get them there. You don't want to wait 6 months to feel it. You want it in 2 weeks.
Go.
but yes.
I'm fading.
Okay. I appreciate you stopping by. You have a good rest of your evening and sleep well.
Yeah. Good night,
Yeah.
everybody.
Good night, Angel.
Take care of yourself, Angel.
I will. Take care.
All right. We're going to go into another discussion. And this scenario is called Why Do They Always Come Back When I Start Moving On?
Ooh, child.
You bet that in your son nowadays, your girlfriend.
Okay, so David has been talking to Jasmine on and off for nearly a year. Every time David decides to move on, I'm sorry. Jasmine suddenly pops back up with a text like, hey, you, smiley face. Been thinking about you. She never actually makes plans, but keeps him just engaged enough to keep his interest. He feels stuck. He likes her, but deep down he knows he's just an option. Is Jasmine breadcrumbing, benching, or both?
Oh, Lord.
That's like a weird parallel universe. I don't know. It's a weird space because I personally I don't know if it could categorize as one or the other. I think maybe in a lot of cases people don't want to release having access from you. I mean, access to you or whatever. It may be some kind of, again, we always talk about attachments. And sometimes when we feel like it's leaving, then that's when we want to run back towards it. So maybe it falls under one of the two categories, maybe both. But sometimes it's just really like people want access to you. They want access to the resources. They want those parts of you that fulfill the things that G. Devon was talking about. I'm missing something. I need to find somebody to use to cope. And when that coping mechanism, my liquor cabinet empty, and you telling me it ain't gonna be no more, I need to call you, see if I can get some more real quick. And then, that's it's a cycle, right? Until maybe I find something to replace it with. Because a lot of times people, when they detach, they think they can find something else and they don't. Then they got to go back to the path of least resistance and see maybe I can do that thing that make them like me before, so I can get them in the hooks, so I can get my supply again. Maybe.
Anybody else
But
want to
that's what I
chime?
heard.
If we're honest, when you look at, I agree with the coach. When you think about the reasons that a person might breadcrumb or might put a person on the bench, I think what we have not said is that there are times where a person might put a person on the bench because they themselves know I'm not ready for what I know that person is going to bring, but that's what I want long term. But I know that right now I'm not in a place. Sorry, I'm not in a place right now where I'm ready to be accountable to that. But I don't want to let anybody else have that. So
Mm,
I'm going to put this person. I don't want to say on a leash, but I'm going to put this person
on a shelf.
on a shelf. Yeah, to where I'll use it when I get ready, or I'll give them just enough of a breadcrumb where you ain't starving, but you ain't eating either. And it's like sometimes people do that because they know I should be with that kind of person. But I got party in me right now. I'm not ready to really settle down just yet. But when I do get ready, in my mind, I'm saying I might give them a try, right? But instead of letting that person go and being honest with them, we'll string them along.
Mm-hmm.
But that person too, I think it was said that they know in their heart of hearts that this person is doing that. There's always the hope in that other person that they will see my greatness and that they will choose me. Where at the end of the day, if they're not choosing me today, such a losses. But again, back to the person that's doing the criminal or the benching, it's almost like in real life when you have a basketball coach, right, that has his starting five out here, but you know a lot of times there's somebody on that bench that really has the talent to be starting, but for whatever reason, you're choosing right now not to make them a starter or your star player. The same thing happens with romantically. Like you know that person has the capacity to love you how you need to be loved. But you actually might be afraid of that right now because you're not certain if you can handle that. But you know this person possesses 9 of my top 10 qualities. Now, to Dave's point earlier, that does not really make sense. We understand it, but doesn't make sense. Like, why would you know a person is wonderful and great and keep them on the bench when you're complaining about A, B, and C that you meeting out here? It boils back to again, but if you're not certain that you can handle them, that you're ready for their love, or that you have the capacity yourself to even hold what they have to pour. A lot of people fit that description where that's why they're breadcrumbing or benching because they're not certain of themselves. Like, oh, I know she got everything I like, but we'll find one thing. Well, you know what? But I like him light skinned. She brown. We'll find something superficial to keep ourselves from dealing with that person, all because it's really us knowing that this person is great for us. And we complain every day, all day, about nothing being out here, but yet there's a person in your grasp that you know have interest in you that we're keeping at bay because sometimes we know that we're not ready.
I have a question though.
I love these questions.
So my question is: the person who has decided to move on, are they really done? Because there are people who say that they want to move on, but they always leave a crack in the door.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm ready to move on, there's no access to me, period.
You blocked her. You blocked Jasmine because you're ready to move on.
Yeah.
I'm just like, you have zero access. There's no phone access. You can't message me on any platforms. I mean, when a person is really done, they seal every avenue to them shut. That person is going to have to jump through some serious hoops to have access. And so that's my question, because it sounds to me like what we just said is an attachment style attraction. There is brokenness in both parties, and they are literally living off of each other. Whatever that dysfunctional behavior is, they're attracted to one another because they're entertaining each other that way. And many people find themselves in that situation, but I'm saying, look, if you're done, just be done. It might be hard for you for a season, but just seal the door shut. And from a spiritual place, whatever time you give into that thing that has any type of declaration or authority over your soul, it is an ungodly soul tie, and it needs to be broken. Because if you go on to the next person and that's a healthy person and you're broken still, that means that you're not fully available for the next person. So you're setting them up for devastation when they didn't ask for that, because you weren't honest enough with yourself to say that you're not ready. So I'm just saying, like, it's an ungodly soul tie, and you need deliverance. You need to come out of that situation, because that's going to keep you engaged. Even when you do have the right person, you won't even be able to recognize them because your mind is still back here on that what if thing. And that would have never been, because if it was going to be, it would have already been. So that holding on, oh my goodness, well, what if they change their mind and they realize that I'm the one? Like, knock it off. You're better than that.
The what if they, man, if I had a dime, when these people know that separation's supposed to be there, and that person leaves them, and they be like, well, what if they change? Well, what if they, and I'm like, they just played in your face for 5 years. What if they, right? Yeah, like, but then I always tell people, I know I'm speaking from a logical place. I know there's a lot of stuff going on, but they be like, but what if they think? Ooh, I be like, you didn't say it about 10 of them, and you have every reason to not believe any of it, and you're ignoring it because you didn't seen it, you didn't felt it, you didn't hurt from it, you've been abused from it. And even if there is a redemption story for you too, it still need to be some space. Let that person do whatever work they need to do. You do your work, and maybe there's some universal thing that happens. But no stigma said not doing it again. I only say that because there'd be that 0.001% be like, we came back and we've been together for 50 years, so I reserved that for that one that one person.
0 0.
So what should David do to break free from the cycle?
Make a decision.
What did you say, G?
Make a decision. That's as simple as that. Like, you mentioned a second ago, people being delivered. I agree. I think people gotta realize deliverance is God's choice, but it gotta be your decision. And until we make the decision that we're gonna break ourselves loose from whoever or whatever
Mm-hmm.
by any means necessary, then we're gonna always be bound to that thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and especially when you know, like I say, when you know in your heart of hearts something is what it is, sometimes you gotta get rid of false hope. You know, it's one thing to have hope, but then you can have false hope too, right? When we make something what it clearly is not. I think we have to stop standing in our own way of what we desire, and again, make the hard choice. You know, come back to yourself and realize who you are, realize your own intrinsic value, and realize, you know what, somebody gonna appreciate me for who I am. But as long as you're bound to that situation or that person, you're going to be further and further away from who you really need to be, who God designed you to be. So you're going to start to look unrecognizable to yourself. And if you begin to look in the mirror and not really see who you really are, then guess what? Other folk are going to be confused too when they see you, because you're going to start to not appear to them right either. And at the end of the day, excuse me, at the end of the day, we always talk about this whole thing about, is this the one? I want to find the one. Get that out your head, first of all, and start realizing, okay, let me make sure that I am the one that God has designed me to be, and I'm manifesting that, first of all. Because if you do that, and then if you walk in the will of God for your own life, it no longer becomes about finding the one. You learn how to find a suitable partner and become one. That's a different mindset than waiting for you to fall in love with a person you never met. That's nonsense. There's some logic to even theology, and there's some logic to even God. Well, we gotta stop being so we're spooky, and we call spooky spiritual when it's not. And at the end of the day, when we learn how to, again, those who subscribe to faith, okay, but what are you believing? And then where is your faith taking you to? Because we cannot keep talking about things like discernment and things about, well, God is X, Y, and Z, but then having these horrible decisions in any area of life, but then saying that you have discernment. Well, clearly you don't, because discernment starts with me. What if you discern about yourself? Do you move too early? Do you move too soon? Are you compulsive with your decision making? Are you emotional? Are you moving on impulse? Now, if you haven't discerned those things about yourself, then you'll never be able to discern anyone else, because it's got to start with who you are and yourself. But there are a lot of times that, again, a lot of us know what sounds good to say, and we say it, but it is very clear and evident just not how you live, or you don't really subscribe to that. You heard someone else say that, and it sounded good, and you regurgitated it, but you don't actually walk and live that way yourself. And until we can start having the courage of our conviction to check us and to realize when I'm out of alignment, when I'm out of line, you know, we have talked a lot of bit about purpose, in the past about, well, finding a purpose partner or purposes that are aligning. But a lot of people don't know what that is. And there are a lot of elementary things I think that will really help people if they took the time to kind of like figure themselves out. Like what is purpose? Purpose is when your gift marries your passion. That's your purpose. But we don't break stuff down in a logical manner to help people know what certain things mean that'll help them in these dating streets, in these marriage streets, in these relationship streets, to stop getting breadcrumbs or stop getting bent or being manipulated. Because at the end of the day, people who are doing this, not all, but some, many are toxic as well as narcissistic. And they really need some help. And there are a lot of undiagnosed people walking these streets who are really hurting people because they have not gotten the help that they need. And we're getting ourselves entangled with them. And once you weave a certain kind of web, but I'm done when I say this, it's hard to get out. The more you've entangled yourself, it's hard to get out.
How can we set better boundaries to avoid getting stuck in these situations?
If in the beginning you're talking, just casually talking, and I tell you who I am, you tell me who you are, and then we get to a conversation of, this is what I don't like. Because if you start off with telling them everything you like, they can and will use it against you in the court of courtship. Literally, we set ourselves up oftentimes by trying to be so open and so transparent in the beginning that half the time we don't know that we have come in contact with a professional bencher. We have no idea because we're just getting to know each other. And as Pastor said, we claim we have discernment, but our antennas half the time are up under a hat because we're really not paying attention to what's right there in front of us. Trust yourself, but you're not going to trust yourself if you don't know yourself, because you're not going to trust anybody that you really don't know. So when you really trust yourself and you trust your feelings and you trust your judgment, and you go back to learn how to enjoy being alone, and it's not going to be so desperate. It's not going to be such a spirit of desperation to have another person near you, beside you, close to you. It is so beautiful to get to know yourself and spend time with yourself. Mm-hmm. And then allowing somebody to come in to that world of yours. And if they don't fit in to what you've already created, then it's not time for you to invite either that person or no one at all, because there's a lot of things that we have to get over before we bring somebody else into our world. Pay attention. People show you who they are. It's up to you to clean your lenses. We can have on glasses, but they could be foggy. They could have fingerprints on them. They could be greasy, and we'll just keep putting them on our face, knowing we can't see. Those of us who need our glasses for real. Eventually, you're going to have to clean your lenses so that you can see clearly. And you need to really pay attention to what people say and what people do. Just like love is what love does, it's the same thing for foolishness. It's the same thing for lies. It's the same thing for patterns. Just keep watching and pay attention. And don't be afraid to walk away. But you can't do that if you don't have a life, if you don't have real friends that's going to check you, that you're going to be honest with, because that's what we do in our circle of gold friends. You know, in our gold friend circle, our motto is fire your girlfriends and get you some gold friends. It's your gold friends that are going to literally tell you the truth. Your girlfriends want to know the tea, and they want to cackle and giggle and do silly stuff, knowing you broke, but you want to go on a vacation every quarter. No, ma'am. Gold friends, we're doing what's necessary. And we're praying for each other, and we're covering each other. And we know how to hold each other's secrets, and we know how to really tell each other the truth when that's not what you want to hear. And you have to have people around you that are going to be able to lift you up in your lowest moments. Get into a circle of people that are going to really challenge you. If you're around people that you're so comfortable being around, you're in the wrong circle. If you're the smartest person, you're in the wrong circle. If you have the most money, you're in the wrong circle. And if nobody is telling you that you jacked up, you're in the wrong circle. I land my plane.
Okay. All right. So we're going to do a group question. We had two other people that were scheduled to come on, and if by the time we complete this group question and we open it up to the chat, if they don't come, we're just gonna go ahead and end the live. We're not gonna drag it on. So the group question: how can individuals differentiate between genuine romantic interest and psychological manipulation in dating, and what strategies can they use to protect themselves from being emotionally exploited?
Read that one more time.
No problem. How can individuals differentiate between genuine romantic interest and psychological manipulation in dating, and what strategies can they use to protect themselves from being emotionally exploited?
So I'll start. And this may not answer the whole thing, but it'll at least start it.
Okay.
This is what I tell people because I used to be one of them. What I tell people is it's hard for you to tell which, but there's only one thing you can control, right? It's you, right? So if you are aware of yourself, you know what you are looking for and what you need to feel safe. You have created healthy boundaries around this realized and actualized person. When someone does something that doesn't feel right, you're empowered to tell them no. There is no predatory dater that has a plan for no. They need your yes. So as long as you are willing to say no when it doesn't feel right, if it doesn't line up and you're not willing to question it and advocate for yourself, you may not be able to realize it. And so a lot of times people want to know what to look out for instead of shoring up their resources and defenses within themselves so that no matter what they do, if it doesn't feel right, the alarms go off. But the alarms won't go off if you have those glasses that Sonyeta was talking about that's fogged up with all the trauma and the issues. You may never see it. So the solution isn't with those fogged glasses to try to see what they're doing. The solution is to wipe the lenses and realize who you are. So when you see clearly, you may not catch them all, but you're going to catch a good bit of them because the energy going to be different. The more healed version of you is going to be walking outside like, nah, I used to like that. Nah, and so people who are out here trying to manipulate you, they're looking for your boundaries to not be there. They're looking for them to be weak. They're looking for you to relinquish all of that with just liking me. I like you, so I'm gonna just we good. Now I got trust and you gone. Little simple things like that shouldn't work. But we let them work because we have these attachments and needs and you're allowed to have them. But once you realize that they're there, you're going to know when it's, I know, oh, that's part of my anxious. No, you cute, but no. When I did that's why I called my brand sit down in here. When I sat down, I went back outside and I was like, ooh, I normally, nah, I don't, And when I got the strength to keep walking away from that temptation, I turned into a whole different person. Now I'm only dealing with people that align with me. But I got to spend time getting to know that. Once you get into that space, all of this whole what they trying to do is even if you spend time with them a little while, when it hit, you should feel that it's uncomfortable. It's when we mute it down, that's the problem. We muting it down because we want to make sure they don't go nowhere. We want to make sure that we say the right thing or else they're going to be mad at us. And that's the danger zone. When we mute ourselves to get validated by somebody that don't give a damn about it. But anyway, I'm landing my plane.
Thank you, Coach Derek.
I don't know. I think to me this is very simple. And I think that we we live in a world that's made it so much more complicated. If there's a true romantic interest, there's not gonna be anything that keeps the two people apart. I mean, genuinely, if you're interested in someone, you're going to communicate regularly. You're going to hang out as often as you can. I mean, you are interested in each other's well being. All of these things come into play. I think that we spend more time reading deeply into this false manual that doesn't exist about how we should pursue. each other, and it's so ridiculous. Well, am I thirsty if I call, or if I text too much, or if I do? And I'm like, look, if you're attracted to a person and they're attracted to you, like, that's obvious.
Mm-hmm.
It is when you are doing a lot of the work and like you're reaching out and they're not reaching back, that you should just know that, okay, this is not, and I'm not talking about I text you 15 seconds ago and you didn't respond to me. I'm like, healthy adults have lives, they have responsibility, they have all of these different things. And so I'm just thinking to myself, it should be not so difficult to get this done. If you're attracted to a person, there's genuine romantic interest, nothing is going to keep you from each other. That's just point blank, period. That's just me. I'm just saying. And I think that the strategy is, I would say trust yourself, but there's so many people who they've messed that up in the past, that trusting yourself is not who you should trust. But what you should do, this is one thing that I do believe though, is that you should engage the people around you who love you and they want the best. You can't vet by yourself.
Right.
And the reason why it's important for you not to vet by yourself is because what we don't understand is that when we open up our lives to a person, whether our family meets them or not, if we're damaged, our family gets the wrath of that.
Yeah.
And they're the ones who are picking up the pieces, not just your family, but your network, your village around you, your friends. Everybody who supports you is impacted by that poor decision that you made or that beautiful decision you made. So it's important that you engage as many people in your network to vet a person. People who are observing and they're like, I like her. She might have some things that she needs to work on, but she's the perfect broken for your broken. Listen, can I say that again? Because if you are in this space where we're talking about mental health and we're talking about souls,
Yeah.
we're attracting people to you because your anointing, your gifting is healer. You're going to attract broken people. The question is that person's broken?
Mm-hmm.
You're broken. Is it matching what it is that you have the capacity to be able to manage or facilitate? And so it's important that we don't vet on our own, but that we have an entire team. Like when I'm in corporate leadership, if we're gonna interview people, I believe in a panel interview. Everybody is in the room at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
We're not calling people back and wasting their time and stuff. Everybody is literally conferring about what it is that they see in that candidate. And if they see the same thing that works for the company and for the team, then we extend the offer. If we see the same issues, then we're like, well, yeah, we'll pass on this one. It's the same thing when you're vetting for the person that you want to walk the journey with.
Yeah.
Incorporate your kids, and I'm like your adults, like your adult sons and daughters. Incorporate, and I mean hoping that they're healthy, because there's some adult sons and daughters that don't want their parents to be happy. Let's just say that. But I mean, what do your siblings think? What do your closest friends think?
I think it's disrespectful for you to come to the Oval.
So I just think that that's something to consider. That's just me. I land.
I agree with you, and I want to preach the B part of your sermon. If you there's a story in Mark the second chapter where it talks about uh, a paralyzed man that needs to get to Jesus, and clearly he can't get himself there, but he's got four friends who carry him there. The point is, the reason that is so important, as Stigma was saying, to have people in your life, because you need people that want for you what you want for you. And like in that story in Mark 2, the only reason that the paralyzed man got healed is because the friends believed that it was possible that if
Yes.
they believed on his behalf, he could get his healing. So even in these dating streets, that's sometime where we arrive at a certain place or a certain thing or relationship as a result of the inner circle that we got. They wanted for me what I wanted for me because they were in tune with what I needed. And now it became easier for me to navigate. And there will be times like that man was paralyzed. But guess what? It's a part of us that's paralyzed too. And the part maybe your eyes is paralyzed. Maybe your perspective is paralyzed. And you might need somebody else in your circle that can be the crutch to your handicap, that helps you to have something to lean on because you're not as strong in this area.
I
And you
like
need
that.
some corrective lenses sometimes to help you see this
Lenses.
thing how you're not going to see it unless you had us in your life. And there are sometimes that's all of us. There's an area of all of us that is not as good as other areas. And you need the people in your life that are in partnership with you, in a friendship wise, that the reason that God have them there is to help you maneuver because you may be the one who is the paralytic and can't get yourself to the blessing that you need. So now it becomes the responsibility of your inner circle to literally pick you up where you are handicapped and help you to get there. Later on in the story, they get to where Jesus is and can't even get in his presence because the people around won't let them in. So they have to climb the wall and cut a hole in the roof. Well, my point is saying that part is that there are literal times where maybe the people in your life have to use unconventional methods to get you to the place that you need to be. It might not necessarily be an encounter with God, but it might be an encounter with what God has for you. Because maybe you're on the verge of giving up. And maybe life has paralyzed you in an area or to a point to where it's hard for you to keep on keeping on. But you got a fresh pair of legs because you have people in your life that, again, they want what you want and they know what you need because they've been praying not just for you, they've been praying with you and they have heard God about you. And maybe they see you going this way. No, let's go this way. And they have the power of influence to not dictate to you, but to encourage you to see the error of that path or the error of that person. And they help you to turn your eyes back to where they need to be. I think that is the power of people in your life that can be those extra arms and legs and brain and eyes that you need when yours are blinded or when yours are paralyzed due to hurt or past experience, whatever it might be. They can help facilitate you to get to a better space. It still has to, again, be you, because in the end, Jesus did speak to the man and he told the man, you know what, because your friends believe, I'm going to bless you, I'm going to heal you. But he didn't get initially his physical healing, he got a spiritual healing. Well, the point in that, in regard to this, is that sometimes what we have been searching for all our life and not getting is the very thing that God is saying to us, that ain't your primary need. And sometimes we haven't gotten to what we think we want because that's not what God knows that you need. It might be a person or it might be a certain kind of love right now. Sometimes God has to save you from what you're not ready for just yet. And then he'll get to that when God understands that you're in a place to be able to handle that. Now, there may be those who are not people of faith who may not understand that story. I mean, speak your language. There are still certain things in your life, no matter what you subscribe to, that you're not always prepared and ready for. And there are some times where you might not get that thing yet as a result, because whether you are a person of faith or not doesn't change the fact that God blesses all of us when he gets ready. And there are some times that even God will work in a non-believer's life and protect them from what they ain't ready for. Or he will allow them to have friends too. Because these are logical things too. We all need people who can navigate us to a space that unless they were in our lives, we wouldn't get this. That man only got blessed because he had his friends, their faith got him to what he needed. I'm done.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to add to that? Firestarter. We just had a toss-up question that I gave to everyone.
That's beautiful. Everything that he said is absolutely beautiful and it's absolutely true. And that's just what I want to say. I listened to him and he talked a lot and he was very explanatory. And everything that he said, I received it. It's so true. And he's exactly right in terms of what we need to do as women and as what we need to do in terms of just being a human being. We need to understand God. We need to receive God as peoples. And we need to take it very, very slow with men because men are very deceitful. And that's how I see it. You know, they're very, very deceitful. I think
Ma'am.
that men ate of the apple. You know, they say that Eve ate.
Okay. Firestarter. So I just did a toss-up question, and I'm going to ask you that question, and then I'll go back to the question that I set aside for you. How can individuals differentiate between genuine romantic interests and psychological manipulation in dating, and what strategies can they use to protect themselves from being emotionally exploited?
You had to. I do apologize. I'm just coming from Event Queen. As I stated, I'm just 2 minutes away from home, trying to pull up in the driveway while I'm
Okay.
driving.
Okay.
But
Okay. So I'll come back. I'll give you like 5 minutes or
yeah,
so.
just give me five. Yeah, just give me 5 minutes. I'm trying to make sure I don't get flicked with this phone in my hand.
Yeah, I understand. Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay. And nobody else wanted to add to what we were that question we were talking about, correct? Is that
Correct.
correct? Okay. All right. Let me give y'all another question in one moment. What are the most common psychological manipulation tactics used in dating, and how can individuals build self awareness and confidence needed to break free from these toxic dynamics?
I can answer that one. Um, I would say one of the most common is the hot and cold behaviors, and it causes you, not being consistent. And then once they do that, the minimal effort, and you start doubting yourself, who are you? And you start on this path of wanting to um, prove yourself and prove your worth. And so it kind of starts causing you to not know who you are as an individual because you've tied yourself into just a glimmer of a hope. You've had these expectations of someone, and they may have given you something that you wanted to get you on the line, to get you hooked. But then you start going through these cycles of um, having unhealthy attachments, being toxic. You can start, just anxiety could come into play because you're just sitting there, overthinking your fears of I'm never this is gonna happen. Is it gonna happen? And so you can really get into a state of even depression just from just going through this cycle of I want to be with someone, and you're feeling like you're worthless, you don't have great self worth, and then you start doubting yourself. So I would say before you even get to dating, and I always tell women, you need to love yourself, you need to get healed, and you need, just because you haven't been in a relationship for a long time, doesn't mean that you're healed. Time does not heal old wounds. I'm I don't know how many times I can reiterate that to women. They're like, I'm ready to date. I haven't dated anyone in 5 years. And they get into the relationship, and this man triggers them to no end. And so they haven't been healed. They don't have good self awareness. So I would just say, get healed, go to therapy, get a coach, know what your boundaries are, and know what what will get you hooked. And so when you do that, if their actions aren't lining up, and that's a big deal breaker for you, if it's consistency, then have a hard no. If they're not being consistent, then I can't do this. If they're giving you minimal effort, calling you 1 week and then they're missing for a month and then pop back up, hey stranger, don't do that. Do not do that. Do not. Don't do that. If they're not ready to make the emotional investment and they're playing these games, making you feel guilty or confused or trying to control you so that you're on the hook, you need to work on yourself. I mean, I know we want to look out for signs, but you don't even know what signs to look out for if you're confused, if you don't know what state is a healthy state to be in. How do you know what's healthy if you're not healthy at all? So I would just say definitely get healing, pray, seek God, because guess what? Once you get delivered, you got to have some, I call it, once you get all this out, you need a prescription of what you're going to do next. The doctor's not going to send you home after you have a surgery without some instructions. So once you go to God, hey, you've broken these soul ties, go ahead and get you some things in place. Hey, you know what? I may not need to go in these places. I may need someone else, like you said, to vet who I'm with. I'm not a good picker. And we have to admit that. My decision making is flawed. It's made through trauma, it's made through um, hurt. So I may need someone once I pick this person or I think we're gonna be a good fit. Hey, let's go out with my friends. So your friends will know, they know you and they know what you always do. So they'll know how to lead you in the right direction. Like, girl, he's reminding me of Joey. You're getting hooked. Don't do it. Don't do it, anime. Don't do it. So just make sure that you are getting healed. And if you are a woman or a man of faith, once you get delivered, listen, don't just think you're ready to go out. You need some steps, you need some boundaries, you need some structures, you need some accountability. Because you're not a good picker right now. So you need an accountability partner that's going to help you as you're going through this process. Baby steps. They need to walk you through your next relationship until you know what healthy, whole, proper relationships look like. And I land my plane. And I'm about to head off in about 5 minutes. I have an early
Okay.
in the morning. But thank you so much for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Thank you for coming. I appreciate you.
We wasn't saying land my plane before Clubhouse.
All right.
Exactly.
So who invented that phrase, I wonder?
I don't know.
We just picked it up. Everybody was saying it. When you was on the stage, you better land your plane.
Did anyone else want to take a stab? I don't know if that's a good word to use. Did anyone else want to answer that question?
I was just thinking about the effects that it has on a person, the psychological effects that happens to a person because of these behaviors. And we talked about the low self-esteem, but it's truly emotionally exhausting trying to figure things out. And I'm trying to heal from this. And I meet this person at Starbucks. Of course, we didn't go to Starbucks today because it was the blackout. But, I met this person at Starbucks last week, not today. And, we exchanged numbers and we communicated. And he was supposed to call on Friday because I did let him know that I was going to be free on Friday. And I didn't hear from him all day. But I'm still healing because I'm talking to Coach Derek, and he actually told me not to be out here giving out my number right now. But he just seemed nice. I'm not going to tell Coach Derek about it because he's probably going to tell me I shouldn't have done it. But I'm just going to see how it goes. And that emotional exhaustion, especially if you got to keep it a secret, like I tell my foster kids, if you got to hide it from me, then you shouldn't be doing it. And that's what your social media, that's what you're playing your Roblox, that's what you're being on your games. Listen, people are saying they're one thing, but there's something else. This thing is huge. Hiding behind our persona or a false reality of who you really are. And then the truth and the reality comes out, and people are out here getting hurt for real. But if you're already damaged good, it makes it even worse because you're not doing your homework. You're not sticking to the goals that you made with either your team, your coach, your pastor, your therapist, whomever, your best friend. No, because I'm out here looking for love.
Yeah.
And this has got to be the one because it's my time. And the society says you're a certain age and you should be, but that comes from not knowing who you are and having trust issues and ignoring certain things that's going to put you much further back. So doing your homework and putting in that work and that time for yourself, like literally, like Dr. Tynico said, I'm that person that hasn't dated for a while, right? And like, I'm kind of excited about getting back into the dating pool, but like there's boundaries of who I'm going to date. I don't want to date anyone that lives near me. That's a game changer because I'm not going to be in the middle of a conversation for him to say, "Oh yeah, I used to date your homegirl." No, that's no, we're not having that because no, but that's for me. If people have whatever they want, but I've always been that way. I never dated people at my high school, so this is not anything new. I had to date somebody from another high school, even another county over. Long distant relationships have worked for me where it hasn't worked for other people. So you've got to know what you like, what you don't like, what's a game changer, and your whys. Like, don't just say, I don't want to date a guy who has gray hair. Why? I don't want to date a guy who has hair on his face. Why? I don't want to date a woman who's XYZ. What is your why? And all that comes from that internal work, getting that inner healing. And even in the church, those of us who are up here in ministry, they will tell you till the sun goes down about ABC, where that D, that deliverance, is really what's going to take you to the next level. And I pull up in the airport because I haven't.
I was laughing when you were saying those when you was listening to those things because a lot of people, whether they like to admit it or not, they'll exclude somebody because their name is John, and they be like, I won't date another John because I dated one in the past. And it'll be a whole perfect match for you. And it'll be like, but your name is John, or your birthday is on March 1st. It is like done.
You grew up 10 streets over from me. No, I can't do. But I moved to Texas when I was in the 3rd grade. Yeah, it's truly. So I say game changer, but I know that God is just so meticulous and he is good at making us eat our words. So when I say certain things, I will never speak over what God says. So just let me put that disclaimer out there. I know what I said, but I trust what God says.
Oh, well, just because I've always wanted to do it, because I'm just silly and I hear it in my head every time somebody asked about it in the spirit of Parliament and the Funkadelic. Gaslight. I'm like, really? That's the problem, is the gaslighting. Like the people who, and this is not even an intentional thing. When you have a mental illness, when you are a sociopath, when you, when you're a psychopath, you believe your own rhetoric, and after you have told yourself the lie so many times and you believe it, you become literally invincible and very convincing. And so this is why we need this gauge that is in us when we come to Christ, called the Holy Spirit, right? That can check that thing in us so that we know this person is a little to the left and I probably should just bow out. Like I picture Homer Simpson backing into the hedges like, yeah, I need to I'm sorry, this is my silly side, y'all. But I think that one of the things that you said, Dr. Cooper, was this, and I tell people this all the time. If you are expecting a positive end result, you don't do anything in darkness or in secret. If there's a person of interest, it is important that you expose that person of interest in the beginning, really, to somebody who's close enough to you, who loves you and wants to see the best for you, right? And that's because too often, and we see this, you will see that there are couples that will go into a pastor's office, their mind made up, a date already set. Pastor, we want you to officiate. And there's no turning back from that because A, pride is leading. B, everybody already knows that this is the boo, this is the bae, whatever, and they can't go back on that. Like as if there's some, imprisonment that's going to happen if they renege at the last minute. And so what happens is there's so many feelings that people vest very early, far too early. And by the time the family finds out about the person, it's like too late. They're so far gone. And I call it accountability because if people who care about both of you, not just you, as we know that you're here and you're the people that we care about and we love and we're interested in making sure that you're good, but I'm talking about everybody. Um, for the person of interest and the person who is dating that person or interested in getting to know that person, it's important that you have accountability because there are going to be some times that you're off. You can take a scenario to an objective person and say, so this is the situation, blah, blah, blah. And a person who loves you is going to say, you were wrong. Couldn't have done that. No, your perspective is way off. You had zero context. And if that is actually the case, and you have somebody who cares about you that's going to tell you the truth about you, you'll probably win in that relationship. Whether it be you're strong enough to say, this is not for me and walk away, or whether it is somebody who will coach you through. Because I think one of the things that we forget, if the goal is supposed to be marriage and courtship, right? One of the things that we forget is that when we get the person to the altar, we forget about the people. There's no mature or seasoned couple that comes alongside them. There's nobody who is staying up with them to work out those differences so that they don't get angry. It's just like, oh, you're on your own. And marriage has become not the goal. The party is the goal. After the party's over, then the people are left on their own to figure it out. And that's when we get into trouble. Because nobody is checking on us to say, you know what, how are things going? Is there anything you want to talk about? And then I'm not necessarily knocking that because that would take business away from us. That's what we're here for. But I'm saying, you should have an entire group of people that will walk alongside you and say, more than anything, I'll be an intercession for you. I'm going to pray for you. That should be what's happening in your singleness. People are praying for you. I hope that you make the right decision. I'm walking alongside you in this season in your life. But again, everybody is so siloed. Everybody is on their own, and everybody is left alone to figure it out. And I just think that that's a bad place for us to be. And we see that that's not working. So I just wanted to say that for me, the clearly the gaslight thing, and I can smell that person like miles off. So that's not a big deal. But I hear people talk about it all the time. Like, well, they told me this, and, they told me that I just wasn't being present enough or attentive. And when I reach out, they never pick up the phone. And, I'm just like, why? I'm sorry, why are you doing that? stop doing that. Where is your own personal value, and what do you have going on in your life that is of value, so you don't have to wait on someone to validate you? That makes no sense to me. And if you're looking for somebody to do that whole complete me thing, you've already set yourself up for disaster. This is not a completion exercise. Like you're trying to work for completion alone by yourself. So that's just my addition to that. But I thank you, LJ. I'm fading a little bit too, but
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
LJ. Yes.
if I drop though, I'm just gonna stay on and listen. But if I just go away, then you'll know.
Okay. Thank you. Firestarter, welcome in. I'm gonna throw out the question to you that we just had that they were just answering, and then I'll give you the question that you're actually assigned originally. What
Okay.
are what are the most common psychological manipulation tactics used in dating, and how can individuals build the self awareness and confidence needed to break free from these toxic dynamics?
Well, I think anytime when you are dating, never give up too much information about some of the things that you have some of the things that you have dealt in your past. Sometimes people will use that information against you. Sometimes when the less that a person or individual knows is less ammunition that a person could utilize for you. The second thing is don't tell a person what you're looking for. All right. Because oftentimes when we tell people what we're looking for, oftentimes they will try to be the individual. They will try to play that part or be that character or be that individual to keep your undivided attention. So as you are dating or getting to have conversation, and listen, and let me digress. Let me go back a little bit, Queen. Okay.
Okay.
The other thing is this: in a lot of instances, in a lot of cases, people touch before they have conversations.
Mm,
People touch before they have conversations. A lot of times we don't find out that an individual has psychosis or dealing with other emotional issues because we have gotten in the bed first, and now we impregnated by this individual or this person, and we didn't even realize that we laid down with a demon. We had a baby by the devil because we got caught up based on what we see, how that person look, how she smells, how he looks, and a lot of and is and a lot of times we miss out on some things. We miss out on key intricate parts as to what's being said because we are so asphyxiated with with lust instead of love. And we have to be able to differentiate the two between lust and love. Okay. When I love you, I'm willing to take some time to understand you. And people don't believe in courting anymore. Courting is basically getting to know you to see if it's willing to go even further. Let me say this too. Let me say this too. I'm not trying to get too much, information. Help is really going to bless somebody. Um, don't get ahead of yourself. Take time to allow yourself to heal. When you are dating, don't buy expensive gifts. You can't spend a night at my house. I can't spend a night at your house, right? You cannot know where I live. If we're going to date, we're going to meet up at a public restaurant, okay? Because I don't know what you're going to do. Who's to say when I go inside your house, you got a remote control that'll pull down the blinds, lock all the doors, and nobody's not going to be able to see me? And let me say this to each and every one that is in the room, that is in the panel too. Let people know about your whereabouts when you dating somebody. If you dated somebody, what kind of car does he have? What's his name? Take a picture of his license plate and give it to your brother, give it to your sister, so they know where you are in case anything happens. The other part to answer your question, when someone is, playing on you emotionally. They will tell you everything you want to hear. Once they tell you everything that you want to hear, they got you. When they see you at that dinner table, you moving in closer and closer. I got her. I got him. I got her listening. I got him listening. Okay. Um, and don't be thirsty. Take your time. Don't rush in. Don't oftentimes we rush into things based on our biological clock. Oh, I'm reaching my 40s. I'm reaching my, and I'm still single. It's okay to be single. It's all right. I'd rather be single and wait than be in a marriage that's full of hell. Enjoy your peace. Don't allow people to dictate what you should or you should not do in your personal life. Do what works for you. But don't listen to the conversation when people is talking to you. And just by 2 or 3 minutes, you'll understand if this person is full of it or if this person is worth entertaining. But we never take the time to have conversations before we start touching. And we miss out the validity of our relationships. We miss out using a lot of unnecessary time because God is not going to place somebody and occupy a space. That space has to be available for Him to bless you. So I hope I answered your question.
You did, you did. And if you could introduce yourself, please.
Okay, my name is the Fire Starter. I'm from the 313 Detroit, Michigan, the Motor City. I am a basketball coach. I started my nonprofit organization called We For Real. I have we started the organization last year. We blessed 125 families with turkeys, and we turned around and blessed 150 families with gift certificates for kids to go inside of stores to buy themselves Christmas gifts. I am happily married. Um, we have 7 kids together, 3 of them. We took it to our home after my wife's sister passed from COVID. We wasn't going to allow them to be a part of the system. Yes, it gets challenging. I am in ministry. Um, I am a basketball coach. Man, it's yeah, I'm a busy individual. And the most important thing, I enjoy giving back to our young people because in so many instances, in so many cases, our young people don't have any guidance. And when they give you the persona of their attitudes, in actuality, they just bears that just want to be loved, that just want somebody to take the time out to understand them.
Thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and go to your original question. What are the long term emotional consequences of repeatedly experiencing breadcrumbing or benching?
Okay, when you say benching, what is your definition of benching?
It's like
I just want to I just
you're
want to have make sure I had a clear understanding.
you're interested in someone, like you and Down to Earth are interested in each other. You may have been out a few times, but you kind of just keep me on the back burner. And then when you ready to, if you want to do something, you'll do something. But it may be 2 or 3 weeks at a time that I don't hear from you, and I just keep you in a rotation or whatever. So I may be seeing, you may be seeing Down to
Oh,
Earth.
so pretty much having my cake and eat it too.
Well, you have a lineup. Let's say you got a lineup, basically.
The starting lineup, you got a 5 on 5. I got you. I got you. I got you on that. And when you said breadcrumbing is basically playing on somebody's emotional stability, getting them in, giving dangling the carrot, and then taking it away from them, pretty much.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, that is a excellent, a real excellent question. Um, First of all, the best thing to make sure that you're able to differentiate that is get on your knees and pray. Ask God to send you the man and the woman. Sometimes what we want is not what we need. So we have to change our prayer, say, God, give me what I need and not what I want. Because oftentimes what we want doesn't match up what God has for us. So it unveils ourselves for people to play with our emotions. It causes us also to be open to be a side piece. All right. And you don't want to be nobody's side piece. I know, let me tell you this. If my wife made me, if I had to play number two, we wouldn't be married. I said, baby, I want to be the only man. She already knows I'm the only, and she's the only woman. But watch this. When somebody is leading you on, they're not available. And watch this. If the only time you want to come by my house is in the nighttime, it's somebody else. Watch this. I'm gonna give y'all something else. I hope this didn't happen to somebody. Valentine's Day. If that person or that individual did not spend time with you on Valentine's Day and they took you out the next day, you not the one. You not the one. You not that person. You are number two. The main one has the slot for Christmas, for holidays, for any other thing. You just play a number two. You play a number two. So when you understand your worth, when you understand who you are within yourself, it's a less chance and a less opportunity for people to play on your emotions. It's a less chance and a less opportunity for people to play on your thoughts, to play on your thinking. It is a less chance and a less opportunity for people to take advantage of you. But you have to consult God first, because oftentimes when we with the flesh wants what it wants, but you have to be equally yoked. When we unequally yoke, it causes it causes the lineup to be out of space. And see, and watch this. This is really going to bless you. Ask God to give you the spirit of discernment. Ask God to open up your eyes. Ask God to open up your heart. God, is this in your will? God, is this predestined? God, is this something that you really want for me to have? And watch this. When you are dating, bring that person around your friend. Let them talk to some of your friends. And sometimes your friends will be able to tell you if that's the person that you need to be speaking with. Bring them around family. See how he is around family. Ask the person, how is your relationship with your mother? Ask that sister, how's that relationship with your father? 9 times out of 10, that'll tell you a lot of what you need to know. And I land my bus.
Oh, you're not doing a plane, you're doing a bus, huh?
I'm
Okay.
doing a bus. I'm doing a bus. We taking the passengers down, baby.
Okay. Down to earth, you had a question?
I don't have a question. First of all, host, I thank you for allowing me to be on your platform. I don't have a question. I just came onto your platform and I was listening to Firestarter, just telling his testimony, speaking, and I was like, I have to request up because he's speaking some stuff that I experienced.
Yeah, that's why you
So
see here. Yeah, he's a very dedicated person. You know, he had an event tonight, which is why he was just coming in when he did.
Yep, and I apologize for that.
Yeah, but you let me know, so that's
Yep,
you let me know, and you still came, so I appreciate that. Because I know people, you have a life outside of TikTok. This is you don't live
yeah.
on TikTok, so I appreciate that. But yeah, he does. If you haven't had if you're not following him, make sure that you do, as well as the other panelists that were on. And if you have an opportunity, visit his live. That's how I know him, from going to his lives, and that's why I invited him to come, because he's a powerful speaker. As
wow.
with
And I want to say thank you, host, again, and thank you, Fire, for being transparent. But when he was talking, I was single. Like, I was a single parent. I got out of the dating game. God dealt with me with some stuff that I had to heal from. And I healed from it for probably like 2 years, got counseling, all of that. And I was like, I'm back in the dating game. And so when he was talking, I was like, oh my God, that's me. I got back into the dating game. And like what he just said, this person was listening to me. But what he said that caught my eye was I told him everything that I wanted in a man. I told him everything that I had experienced. And he took it and he ran with it. And I was so broken. Even after being single, not dating for 4 years, it came back to haunt me. So when this man said all this stuff, I was like, I have to come up because I experienced that. I experienced that. But I will also say that God bless me. I've been single now again after this. I've been single now for another 5 years. And I'm going back to school. My time is like I don't have time for dating. But I thank God that I was allowed to go through what I went through. I thank God for people like him that says this really happens. Because some people, they don't know. People will take your kindness for your weakness.
Hmm.
You will tell them stuff and they be like, okay, I'm gonna run with her. And so
Hmm.
I thank you, Firestarter, for your being real. Like we need to be real. And I thank you, host, for just allowing people up here to be real. But I experienced that. And I'm still growing. I'm still learning. And you learn from your past. So like y'all say, don't be trying to rush up into stuff. Take your time. And
Take your time.
when God allows you to go through stuff, you take that and you say, you know what, I'm not gonna go through this again. Take your time. But I
Thank,
thank you, sister. I thank you,
thank
brother.
you.
You are so welcome. Can I say something to you, down to earth? Um, what the preparation that God has over your life, because it's still some residue that you have to heal from. It's still like trust. Um, because of some of the things that you have dealt with in your past with previous relationships where you was always the one being honest, but no one could keep it real with you. In this season and in this time, God really wants to do something new in your life. God really wants to do a brand new thing, starting with your mind and starting with your heart. Because when God works on your mind, you begin to view things, see things differently than you once was. So this is a season for you of elevation, where a lot of things is going to be repaired in your life, dealing with your finances. There's a book that you're supposed to write. And as you are doing everything, when that man finds you, he's going to find you working. He's going to find you being productive. So keep on being you. Don't lose yourself. Don't allow a person to change who you are. Still be intentional about your well-being and about you.
Thank you, Firestarter. Thank you for coming up down to earth. I want to thank everyone for stopping by tonight. Thank you for gifting, tapping, and sharing. The panelists that are still in the chat. Hey, Sydney, we're getting ready to shut it down now. I think No Sigma is still down there. So thank you everybody for participating in the live tonight and spending time with us. And we look forward to seeing you again. I haven't set a date for the next live, but I'll release it once I determine what it is. And thank you, Firestarter.
Welcome.
You guys have a good evening.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Queen. I appreciate it.
Oh, you'll be invited back again. You know, I'll try
All
to make.
right. All right.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
All right, bye.
You too. All right. Let me hit this button. What button do I hit?